Recording is on.
Good morning, everybody. It's Sunday, June the 23rd, and this is the Eastern Extinctionati meeting. And so let's kick off. All right, kind of full agenda. Yeah, I wanted to talk about ufology. And yeah, this is my least favorite subject, but does anybody mind? Because, I know there are lots of subjects that people want to do.
The only thing I was going to suggest is you want to just do this spell to bind Donald Trump, because it won't take long and we just get it out of the way. I was thinking if we do it, we could elaborate on it gradually over the weeks.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's up to you. I'm not insisting.
The only thing was I thought we should do it to bind all the 1%, because it was very partisan, and it's like, obviously these guys think that Biden is the good guy, Trump is the bad guy. And I think it's like they haven't quite got the full picture yet. Like they're both just two sides of the same coin.
No. I mean, I agree. Well, do you want to just leave it, and I'll just replace a couple of words in that little text and make it a little bit more general, and we'll do it next time.
Yeah,
we can just.
I think we should just give it a go. Just be a bit woo. I hope nobody minds us going a bit woo, but I mean, it's.
So what do you want? You want to do the? You want to wait till next week, or just do the Donald Trump one now, or what?
Oh, I thought you needed props and stuff. You can't just do it.
Well, what I was suggesting is I've only got two of the props that are listed, which is the candle and the bowl of salt. What I was going to suggest was that people who come to the meeting, can they read the article and bring whatever that props they can bring? Like somebody else might be able to bring the tarot card, and somebody else can bring, I don't know, I can't remember what the other things were.
So we don't have everything to do it now. We can't do it now, right?
We haven't got everything. No, we've only got part of it.
Okay.
But whether you want to just do it as a trial run or a wait until we've got the full thing ready. I just got to.
They had a picture of the tarot card there, right?
Yeah, the tower card. Yeah.
So you only have to invoke the picture of it. You don't need a real tarot card. You can just open that tarot card up in a tab and look at it. Right?
Yeah, we needed a picture of Trump looking ugly, which is not hard because they all do. Haven't got that.
Yeah, but I mean, let's just bind a lot of them. We just
find some symbol for Moloch.
Yeah, Moloch. Yeah. There we go. I mean, that'll do that. That's the whole.
Or some other representation, like find a representation of Ahriman or something, some evil, Moloch-like god.
I'll get this
Moloch. No. Okay, let's bind Moloch, and everybody knows that we're talking about Kermit the Frog and Elon Musk and all the bastards. Basically, the lot of them, and also the dopey puppets like Trump and Biden. So. Okay, so Gary, I don't have the script. Can you lead this thing?
Yeah, I'm just trying to toggle the camera onto the candle, but I can't.
You did.
I did, but it's still. Yeah, I know, but it didn't stick. It bounces off it for some reason. Hang on, I'll try again. Toggle camera. No, it's just not going to fucking do it. Hang on. I turn the camera off. No, that doesn't work. You got a camera turned on. Turn on. Maybe I can't toggle the camera because it's recording or something. Hang on. What I can do is just turn the whole thing.
I'll just turn. You did it once before.
Yeah, I did, but it automatically bounced back out of it. It didn't. I didn't touch it, and it just cancelled it.
Maybe the woo is stopping it.
Yeah, maybe it is. Yeah, yeah. Because the trouble is, I can't read it. I can't read it unless you want to
Well,
read it, and I'll turn the camera around.
would DB, do you mind? Do you mind reading it, DB? And then
I haven't actually gotten to that article yet. I've been gone all day with family,
oh,
so yeah, totally unprepared here as well. Sorry.
oh, because okay, I lose my cursor here. So, oh man, this is we're gonna have to apologize to everybody for this bad. Yeah.
Sorry, I've lost the video completely. Hang on, that's back. Now what happens?
Or maybe we should get this together later and try
Yeah,
later.
maybe do it later on. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so maybe we need a real practice. But anyway, it's pretty ballsy to, to bind Moloch on Moloch's own machines.
I mean, it's just like that funny little, video about the banksters where he's like, grab your balls, you're gonna need them. And he gets iron balls out of the back of the trunk. Remember that?
Yeah, I like that one. It was really cool. Okay, well, so then I don't know. Should we start on the woo subject of the year, ufology?
Yeah.
Yeah, let's go ahead with that.
Hugh, if
Okay.
I log out, will it stop it recording? Or
Yes,
will
it
keep
will. Don't do that.
well,
Don't
you're going to
touch
have to put
that.
up to me. Well, I'm going to be invisible. For some reason, neither of my cameras are working now at all. Can you see me?
That's
Because
all
I
right.
can't see. Yeah,
No,
I'll
I
just
can't.
I'll just sit here in the darkness. Whatever's gone wrong, it's completely removed the cameras.
It looks like it's still recording. So anyway, we're 20 minutes into this, and it's like
Go ahead then. Go ahead. Stop wasting time.
we've done nothing. It's like
We've done
really
nothing. Yeah.
pissing people off. So we better start. Okay. Yeah. So first of all, let me tell you the reason why I want to do ufology, and ufology is my least favorite subject. I loathe it. It's somewhere round about the vegan religion, and when it's just agony doing these discussions. But anyway, it came up because I put a bit in the manifesto about. I don't know if anybody's read the manifesto yet, but it's this little paragraph that I put in to warn people about that there's liable to be atmospheric anomalies and things like that, and they, just to ignore them. That I so basically that people might get a bit of UFO mania, and I tried to palm it off on geophysical phenomena, which is correct. The Heselden lights and the Midman lights and that, they are just natural phenomena based on piezoelectricity, basically in the rocks. So piezo means squeeze, from the Greek for squeeze, and if you squeeze a semiconductor like quartz, it actually produces electricity. So it makes that torsional squeezing energy. It makes electrical energy out of it, and so that happens on a large scale, and it makes interesting lights and ball lightning and all sorts of stuff. That you only got a sketchy view of what the mechanism is, but you can produce it in a lab, and so it's pretty well established. But it overlays all the UFO stuff, because when there's earthquakes and volcanoes, then you often see lenticular clouds and lights and stuff like that. And then, thousands of people have seen in Mexico. They've seen a volcano with these kind of UFOs going around it, and then often people see UFOs diving into volcanoes and stuff. And so confuses the whole UFO scene with that natural phenomena. So I tried to be a clever dick, and I tried to just say, look, tell you guys, like, forget about all this shit. There's going to be a lot of mad crap UFO mania. And I said, just ignore it. And then I put a little joke in there saying, and if a spaceship comes down and lands, don't get on board because it's a trick. And I thought I could get away with that and give you enough hint that just this is muck, all the UFO stuff. But then I saw more and more that like something is brewing. I think that something is brewing. And I thought, I'm not going to get away so easily. So I've got to, in this thing, I think, tell you my theory of UFOs and UAPs and undersea objects and stuff, because it's too woo to put in the manifesto. I mean, the manifesto already is woo squared, and most people won't read it. But it'll definitely tip it over if I warn people against what I think might be coming. So yeah. Now, one of the reasons why I hate it, you'll see if I talk about it why I hate it. But one of the reasons I hate it is I'm not at all sure about anything I'm going to tell you. So it's speculation and it's my theory. Now, I don't mind telling anybody about the flippening, because if it's wrong, there's no harm done. I mean, in essence, the flippening is just like a memento mori. It's just saying, guys, we haven't got long, which is something you should tell everybody. Everybody needs a memento mori. And all the upshot of it is you should just prepare for your death, and you should live every day like it's your last, which is just fucking good advice. So there's no downside to telling people about the flipping that I can see. It just shake them out of the stupid delusion that they have infinite life and they can afford to dick around like they are. And so that's fine. But here's the UFO stuff. It's no one really knows what's going on, and I've got a good theory, but it's completely from me. And it could, if you listen to my theory and you respond to it, you take it seriously, I could cost you big time. So, in other words, if a spaceship does come and land, I'm telling you, don't fucking get on board. It's a trick. I could cost you dearly, because I don't think a spaceship's going to come down and land on Earth and take all of us up in it. But if it did, and you listen to me and I was wrong, perhaps I'm costing you, your heaven, your eternal heaven or something. And if you stay here on Earth, maybe, we're obliterated and Earth's obliterated, and everybody that gets taken up to heaven is, on this bloody spaceship. So if this all sounds weird to you, it is. But the reason I say it is that I've been telling people for 10 years, no, 2 decades, is like, people like you guys who like a little bit, open-minded and I've instructed, okay. Then I've told them, like, if when the spaceship comes down, don't fucking get aboard. Now, the reason why I often give that advice is because a lot of people think it's going to happen. And not some, Greer type kooks, although they do, not just the woo crowd in the UFO thing. I mean, guys in the Pentagon, right, who get funding and, have influence on government and stuff. So first off, I'm pretty darn sure that there are no aliens out there, that we're absolutely alone in this universe. The only life is on this planet. And so now people hate that. I mean, I didn't realize, how badly people hate that idea. And quite frequently I've had conversations, and often with groups of people, and the whole group of people that are especially science type guys. It's incredible that scientists and people that love science and are all, this trust the science, listen to the science, and totally anti-woo, they hate the idea that there's no life in the rest of the universe. And I say back to them, like, you keep on telling me trust the fucking science. You trust your own fucking science. Is the science is saying that there's no fucking life out there. It's the Fermi Paradox. It's a barren fucking universe. There's fuck all out there. So now, this rubs people up really, really the wrong way. Everybody, mostly. And so it's, I think Arthur C. Clarke or somebody said, whether there is life in the rest of the universe or there's no life and we're utterly alone, either one of those is absolutely astounding. And people don't take life seriously enough. This is probably the fluke of a billion times. And if you think, oh, come on, life appeared here. Okay, it only appeared once. And it's, I think it's more of a fluke than people realize. People think, from Darwin on, you just have this warm little puddle and then you have a bit of RNA first or DNA first or whatever that debate. And then, it all kind of, you just stick it in your Stanley Urey experiment, chuck a bit of lightning, do Frankenstein and woof, up comes life. And that must happen everywhere. It's just probably a little recipe. But I think if you're going to have a look at like molecular motors, and particularly if you look at helicase, I mean, helicase is necessary. Okay, first of all, I don't think people realize that all life is predicated on DNA. It's just a trick that DNA does, nothing else. I mean, you don't get other forms. And they've looked at other forms. Can you get a sort of carbon-based life? Could you have silica-based life? It doesn't work. It's physically impossible. So basically, it's a trick. And also one of the things, the hidden assumptions that people make, it's a trick with DNA and water. So everybody, has all these fucked-hearted science videos, and they have the DNA thing. I wish they wouldn't do that thing because they're misleading everybody. It's it's a trick with DNA molecule and water. And so the structure of water and what's happening with water is fundamental. It's not, it's far more than just, hey, it's the background. It's not the background, it's intrinsic to life. And so if you look at molecular motors, and particularly things like helicase, I can easily believe that helicase, if you look at the mechanism of helicase, it's like, I can easily believe that's, there are a billion stars in our galaxy, and the James Webb telescope will look out and see a billion galaxies. And so even, although Carl Sagan probably rolls in his grave at saying it, that we really are, a chance of 1 in a trillion. So it's just, and you can see, I mean, I have no trouble believing, if you look at the mechanism of helicase, I mean, helicase, if you don't know it, it takes the DNA molecule, it takes a big loop back and backwards transcribes it. So it's like, how the fuck did that happen? I mean, you either got to be looking at helicase, you either got to be a creationist or say, nah, if this happened by chance, it's a very, very low odds chance. And I don't know how anybody who knows about helicase and then can still talk bullshit about life on other planets. It's just like the chances is fucking abysmally low. Okay, so that's my premise. Now, and I told you it's not popular. Now, people in the government, I'm talking US government here, right? Everybody talks about the government as like it's a uniform, homogeneous block, completely united, and it couldn't be further from the truth. When World War III breaks out and you have a nuclear war, it's liable to be one side of the Pentagon nuking the other side. It's like, don't assume that this isn't functional beyond belief. So, okay, so there are guys, and this is one of the reasons why I'm telling you this, is that they seem to be getting funding. When you see things like Star Wars and stuff, those are the guys. Space Force, not Star Wars. The Space Force, as far as I can tell, is they're gearing up for interplanetary war based on, and the reason why they, see those videos, I think that Lou Elizondo, he's like, he's a whistleblower. He's not a fucking whistleblower. He's a government spokesman. They're breaking the news to you. Now, he's not speaking for the entire government, and he's not speaking for these other guys who say, like, dude, you don't want to tell the public we're about to engage in a fucking interplanetary war. Tell them later. You see, you have these factions that all have different theories on what it is. And so he's probably not speaking for the entire government. He's probably speaking for his sect inside the establishment. But just as an aside, one of the reasons why they all say, well, why doesn't the government share all this information? And it's like, because there's a deep state. There's, you see, it goes far more than just there's been a cover up for years and years and years. That you know, Congress and presidents and that are not allowed to know this shit. It's like they're just too fucking junior to know. And so, you know, if they say all this, what comes out is a lot more. It's a, you know, you say, well, if this is true, that if even the government doesn't know it, it reveals the secret government. It reveals the fact that there is a deep state, and it's the scientific industrial elite that Eisenhower was warning about. It's the same guys that, you know, when Kennedy gave that speech about how he was saying, you know, it's very un-American to have secret societies and secret oaths. And like, Kennedy couldn't have been more wrong. It is absolutely American to have secret societies, secret governments, and they all right from the beginning. It's secret cults, secret oaths. This guy, you know. So Kennedy was trying to, you know, separate avocado from guacamole. So the average libtard and stuff.
Hang on, I'm sorry. Can I interrupt? I just can I get you to clarify? I don't know if you can hear me. Okay, can you?
Yeah, I can hear you fine.
Okay, it's behaving very badly this end, but anyway, I'll go on. So you're saying on the one hand that there is almost certainly no life anywhere else, and now we're talking about interplanetary war. So does that mean that they're going to fake aliens and have a fake war with them, or does it mean that they have actually discovered aliens and they've kept it hushed up all this time? Is one of those two?
They've discovered aliens, and they've kept it hushed up all this time. So, okay. But here's the thing. Okay, so my theory on what aliens are and what they're looking at.
Yeah, but hang on, sorry.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Yeah, but if they have, but you just spent 10 minutes telling us that they're not there. Can you just square those two things up?
Oh well, okay. They're not coming from outer space. So there's a group. There are various theories of where they're coming from. So there's one faction that says they're coming from the Pleiades, and so they. I trolled them in my video. So basically. I put in a bit there where I'm saying that, you know, these guys came down and implying that I come from Sirius, the dog star. Dr. Neo von Cortex comes from the Pleiades, and he represents the Neocortex Foundation. He comes down 200,000 years ago. He knocks out 50 genes or so, and they give us our alien cortex. And also we lose the spines on our penis. Now, it's all legit science, by the way. 200,000 years ago, we got about 50 genes knocked out, and that basically separates us from a chimp or a bonobo. So, and what they looked at what the genes did, and they take the brain, the breaks of your neural development, your embryogenesis, so the embryogenesis of your brain and nervous system, it has breaks. That's why, you know, a chimp becomes a chimp. But if you take those genes out, you get us. You know, basically our head explodes, and then consequently, just by chimps and bonobos have spines on their penises, spikes, and so it just those were taken off too out of those genes. So
yeah,
anyway,
well, just think how much money they save. I was just thinking that they save on expenditure at the sex toy shop, don't they? You know, they don't need that stuff.
Yeah. Well, no, I think they're painful. I think so. I put in the video that was like kind of a mercy to the female species of our species. Yeah. So, okay. So now, you know, maybe it happened. Maybe these guys are right, but I don't think so. I think alien cortex was naturally evolved, and then, but you know, it's not. The guys are not as crazy as you might think, because if you look at Homo naledi and all these places where this happened where I was born, by the way, but in caves and stuff, just a few miles away from the hospital where I was born in. And so if you look at Homo and a lady in that, they look like experiments. They have, you know, big hands, and they're obviously dexterous, some of them probably making tools. And maybe even they have a sense of the afterlife. They're burying their dead. But their head is this, they have, you know, almost microcephaly. They have a little fucking melon-sized head. And so it fucks everybody over. But there's so many hominids, they look like fucking experiments. It looks like somebody's knocking genes out, not adding them so much, just knocking out genes and to see. And then
There was some
almost like
guy.
they got to us and they were like, oh, maybe this will work. We'll run the experiment.
Yeah, there was some guy
Oh, yeah,
on YouTube a while ago who had these strange skulls. I wish I could remember the details now. I don't know if he was getting them from just one place in South America. Do you recall anything? I just can't recall the
Oh,
details.
no,
But
they're
he's
not. They're not. It's just overwhelming evidence. See, all these guys, you see, there's like all these they're folk memory of all these different types of trolls. Trolls are obviously folk memory of Neanderthals. But you know, Dobby the house elf that J.K. Rowling is an old folk memory of this little elf thing, and it's probably you know, Florensis or Denisovans or something, but they're all these different freaking experiments, and we all kind of remember them. There's Native Americans remember kind of species, a little warlike hobbit thing that lived in the mountains, and everybody has these stories, and then eventually they're going to find the fucking bones and dig them up and say, oh, this is fucking weird. But
I know
anyway,
I'm leading you astray here, but do you want to mention Eric von
I'm
Däniken?
leading you astray here, but yeah, we'll go ahead.
I'm sorry, I know I'm leading you astray a little bit. Do you want to talk about Eric von Däniken for a minute, or is it not?
No, definitely not.
Definitely
Fucking not. No way. Don't. So
Don't.
this is what I mean is don't go down this road, right?
Okay.
So this is Makyo. If you go down this road and you will spend a lifetime. Again, there are all these things I tell you on the path, like the Bible. The Bible is just a honey trap. It's just an interesting, shiny object that's constructed like a mirror. I'll tell you how you write your own Bible. You just put all these contradictions in. It's kind of like Shakespeare. But you will, if you go and dive into the Bible and take it seriously and try and figure out what it's trying to say, you will waste your entire life and you'll never get onto the main project. And the main project is dealing with who wrote the fucking Bible. And that's, you know, here, your own head. So it's your alien cortex, and it's trying to waylay you. And ufology is also a kind of defense mechanism of the alien cortex. It's trying to throw chaff up in the air and say, oh, look at this, look at this. Oh, interesting stuff here, interesting stuff there. And then you'll spend your whole life looking at that stuff, interested, always just getting to the beast. And, you know, and it's like, no, the beast is you. The beast is here. So it's like, it's a way of fucking you up. So don't go down Van Däniken and stuff, because that's you getting drawn in by the siren. It's the same as King's North and the Bible and stuff. All these shiny objects will draw you away from the main task, which is to kill the beast. You know, we're on the path to kill the Gorgon, right? And so on the Gorgon has all these defense mechanisms built up around the path, and it has, you know, bliss over here, and it has religion here, and this interesting thing, and all of them. If you get into them, you will never get to the destination. You'll be an old person by the time you meet the Gorgon. It's too fucking late. It's trying to get you to die of old age before you deal with it. Right? So okay. So I got it. So okay. So I was talking about the origins and all these different factions and where they think. So there's this one faction, and I'm worried now because it looks like these guys are getting funding. The fact that they do Space Force and stuff like that is an indication that they're kind of winning. It's whoever gets the money is obviously winning. And so they would say, and I think a lot, if any ufologists, oh God, please don't be listening. If any of the ufologists are listening to this, they're going to say, Hugh, you don't know what the fuck you're talking about. They have, you know, these fast walkers coming from the Pleiades. They've tracked these things coming from the side. Yes, they fucking have. But you don't know what they're tracking, and this is what I'm going to tell you, and this is why it's so fucking dangerous. So it's like, okay, first, fast walkers in the sky, and he's tracking these things coming down to Earth and stuff. Okay, so this is very, very old stuff. The Hindus will tell you about skywalkers and Native Americans. This is very, very old shamanic stuff. So I mean, how common this currency is Luke Skywalker in Star Wars movies is from the Skywalkers, from the Native American Skywalkers and Hindu Skywalkers. So it's like, fuck Todd Cameron or whatever, just stole that shit and put it in his movie for $1. But it's like, yeah, the shamans have been seeing Skywalkers, and they're all sorts. There's like, you know, you better have a stiff drink on hand when you look at skinwalkers. But anyway, the Skywalkers and these, you know, fast walkers and stuff coming in from space, they're far closer more to skinwalkers. And I'm talking paranormal phenomena. And so you say, well, what generates them? So, okay, this is the danger. The guys in the Pentagon, they think there's shit out there. It's not out there. It's in their heads, right? And so it's difficult, because if you say, oh, it's all in their heads, then Michael Shermer's your best mate. And you'll say like, oh, okay, there's a nice mundane explanation. Then they're just freaking, you know, they're mental. They're just having illusion. I say, well, yeah, okay, in a way, but then it suddenly gets off the charts woo, and Michael Shermer will go running screaming from the room, because Michael Shermer doesn't know how powerful our own brain is, and so neither do the guys in the Pentagon. So what they're looking at is a paranormal phenomenon that's created by us, by our own psyche and our own telekinetic abilities, our own telepathic abilities. This is coming from the inside out. There's not something out there, out in space, coming down to us. You know, so how bad does this go? Well, if you carry on looking at the Pleiades and stuff, you will eventually. I mean, you could create a planet there and a civilization just by believing in it and studying it long enough. It'll manifest there. So, you know, so unfortunately, that's more woo than the nice explanation that these guys are just going off their rocker. But they're going off their fucking rocket, and we're talking, they have military weapons and nuclear weapons, and they're gearing up for, as far as I can see, they're gearing up for an interplanetary war with something that comes out of their own heads. And the more they see it, they did it in the fucking Cold War with the Russians. They manufactured a threat out of nothing, and it's like the more they believed in the threat, the more they did it, the more the threat manifested itself. It's a paranormal phenomenon. It's not geopolitics or anything like that. It is something that we're doing, and they getting, the United States itself is a kind of an egregore. So it's this shared delusion. There are enough people involved that you can manifest, you know, solid objects. Okay, so how bad does this go? Well, this is what I was told. Okay, just let me finish off the theories from where these things are coming from and the various sects and stuff from these. So there's a bunch of guys, and dare I say this? Okay, I'm gonna. Hank is one of them. So these guys believe that these are us in the future. So we've got to an advanced state of technology. And now we're coming back, exactly like in Back to the Future movie, where Biff comes back to his former self and slaps him around and says, "Stop being Biff." And so they think that our future selves are doing this retrocausation, coming back in time to us to stop us on the Fermi Paradox, basically to stop us blowing ourselves up with nuclear weapons. And so now this is dangerous shit. You saw in one of the videos I posted, one of these guys is one of this crowd. And what he says is he's the guy that talks about how these entities, basically these lights come over, say a missile silo and nuclear bunker, and they, you know, power everything down. And so they've seen that. Then the Russians have seen another one where the opposite. They power everything up and get very, very close to launch. All done with Wu, okay? So now there are mundane explanations, right? This could be that America's hacked their systems and just fucking with them. It could be that either side has has a cyber attack, and gets hold of their nuclear and just wants to show them. But then it doesn't really work as a theory because the guys see ships and lights and shit above the bases. So it's like that explanation doesn't kind of work. I mean, what's the chance that America put some hyper secret technology right over Russia, Russian base, then hack their computer systems? Miraculously, they know how to get the thing up to launch status all the way before just almost to launch, but then they back off and they go, ha ha, we just showed you how clever we are. And then they don't even tell the Russians, hey, ha ha, how clever we are. So it's obviously something else. So those kind of mundane explanations don't work. The explanation that works for me is the most woo of all, and that's that they're doing it to themselves. No. Let me finish on where the other guys think they're coming from. So there's a bunch of guys that think that these, there's basically, let's say the terrestrialists, the guys that say this is all shit, that we live with these other paranormal entities, we're just not very aware of. I think Lou Elizardo is one of those. Anyway, sorry about this, hang on. Geez, sorry about that. Okay, so okay, there's some people believe that a faction, I mean, guys in like the Pentagon and stuff, they believe that, and the Navy, of course, believes that these guys, it depends which where you hang out. If you hang out at sea, then you come to the conclusion that these things live deep down in the sea. And so I don't buy it at all, because just the physics of stuff is a bit fucked up. So if these Tic Tac and ships and stuff are coming up, and it means that down in the Mariana Trench or something, there's cities that are all kind of cloaked, and and then they have factories where they're manufacturing this shit, and then there's so much weird shit that's dredged up from the bottom of the sea that, I mean, is washed ashore. But then, I mean, I've never heard of little green men in purple jumpsuits and Nikes being washed up on the shore in all the weird shit that just never comes up. And you'd see bits of, spaceship and stuff. I mean, come on, it must be, it can't be that. And where would they get their energy from? And where did they evolve? And, really all ancient aliens and stuff. It's like, yeah, it's all like
kind of does away with David Icke in his purple jumpsuit as well in one process.
Yeah, isn't it a kind of a way of like projecting, the sort of logical rationalist way, of thinking, and then like apophenia or whatever that word is, where they see yeah, so it's like a mixture of those, like projecting the civilized way of life out there, like, oh, there has to be more of, our intellect out there, and then they see these patterns and then interpret it, as that same thing, sort of.
Okay, yeah, you're on the right track, but go further. Okay, imagine this. Imagine we're all telepathic, or we have telekinetic abilities, but we also have apophenia, and that's the problem. Is what these guys are doing is they don't know that they have these psychotronic abilities and these telekinetic abilities, and so they are studying all this stuff, and they get a bit of apophenia and make this connect. They're trying to get a mundane answer, but the more they look at the woo, the more they create woo. So and they never get it, that the woo's coming from themselves. You see, they can't make the leap to the fact that saying, you see, a lot of guys hearing this, especially guys on the inside that know shit more than I do, would say, like, Hugh doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about. We have fucking spacecraft in Roswell. We even have bodies. So Do I believe they have spacecraft and bodies in Roswell? I've been told yes, and I absolutely believe it. I have no reason not to believe it. Now, what those guys think, say, okay, so then you admit, fuck all, and stop talking about ufology. You don't know anything, Hugh. They say, like, no, you don't know. You see, Moloch, damn it.
Hugh, can I just
when you try
insert?
and talk, but please don't interrupt too much, because when you try and talk about this stuff, you see, if you try and talk about this stuff, you will get interrupted. See, it's just, I'll explain it later. The same thing happens when you try and take fucking photographs and shit like this. You will get this shit. You see, it has this kind of quality where I would switch my fucking phone off now, but I can't switch my phone off because I'm using it to do this call. I'm using 4G to do this call. But it's not a coincidence that the phone rings now. You just believe it. You get used to it. Okay, so now, how do I know this shit? And I must tell you how I came in. And then you can see my bias and why I have this theory. So I mean, I have one foot in woo. I've always had one foot in woo and an equal foot in technology. So I'm one of the guys that bridges the gap and can see, I'm not scared of woo and I'm not scared of technology. I can speak mundane. I've done countless science projects and spent most of my life doing software and stuff. And so it's like I'm not scared of the technology. I've done everything in the technology from the electronics all the way up to the software development methodologies. And I've done the same on the woo side. I've done Shri Rama Krishna and the magic stuff and stuff. So I'm completely unbiased between either one of them, right? I mean, they're equal to me. And then I come up with the shit that I've seen. And so this is where I get to, obviously it's based on entirely from my history and my experience. And but if you walked in my sandals, this is where you'll get to, is that it's a creation of our own minds. Now, I got to this space slowly. The first time I realized about psychotronics and stuff like that was when I was in the Air Force. And I think I've mentioned to you before that I noticed in particular things, instances, especially when it's in extremis, when there's very it's very psychically charged, or there's a lot on the line. So in other words, you could say, well, are these things scientifically testable? Yes, but no ethics or review board is ever going to allow the kind of experimentation that you would have to do to set up this as a laboratory experience. In other words, people's lives would really, really have to be at risk. I mean, we're talking where these things happen. They often happen in the military and in space programs, and explorers going into new territory and stuff, because our psyche only gets to that in extremis. And so, if you want to talk physiology or something, you have to, there's obviously they have the feel. If you in these kind of experiences, they have the feel of a DMT trip or an LSD trip. I think that, DMT and LSD, all these neurotransmitters and chemicals in our brain, they're contributing to the effect, almost definitely. Now, you have to get very close to near death, and you can't fake it. Or maybe you can, but I've never seen it. I mean, this is, from all I've seen, is these things happen in the Air Force when their lives on the line. And basically, the really guys are scared for their fucking lives. There's that much tension in the air. By the way, when you see all these things like the F-19 Hornets and stuff in the US Navy, like those now famous things they released in 2018 of San Diego, everybody all the kids in that, they watch it and they go like, oh, dude, look at that. Oh, I got lock on. And everybody's saying, oh, this is cool. We're seeing it. So like, it's not like that when you're there. Okay. When you're there, it's fucking scary, terrifying as fucking shit. You know, I mean, it's shit in your pants scary. And that is involved. That's not coincidental. You have to get to that shit in your pants. So it's like on Apollo 13 and stuff, and all these things where, I mean, astronauts, people don't realize how dangerous this is. The guys are on the edge, you know, they're almost having a near-death experience the moment they fucking go for launch. And so you shouldn't be surprised if astronauts and guys on the, you know, the moon and stuff, you know, a lot of people don't know that Apollo 11, that Buzz Aldrin and Armstrong, they only survived because Aldrin had a metal pen that he wasn't part of the kit or anything. He just happened to have his own personal metal pen, and they wouldn't be alive. They wouldn't have got back from the moon because they blew a fuse in the lunar module, and they didn't have a replacement, and so they were stuck there. And then Aldrin said, I've got a pen and maybe it'll fit. And he just, luckily it was metal and it fit exactly in the slot where the fuse was supposed to go. And he held the pen in there while Neil Armstrong blasted back from the moon. So in those kind of circumstances where you just fucking, oh man, blue in the face tension, this is where all these things manifest, right? So that's why you don't see them every day and stuff like that. So yeah, so in the Air Force, then I noticed in these things that often the radios would go out, and I got to the question. I mean, it was kind of wartime army and stuff, and you get enough experiences where you start to notice a pattern. And so I noticed, like, why when you get this particular feeling, this particular kind of place where you get to almost like seeing red, and I know the feeling so well. You get a metallic taste in your mouth and stuff, and then the radios go out. And so I cautiously asked, you know, other people and stuff, and I said, did you think that it was our psyche or something actually knocked out the radios? And everybody kind of agreed. And so I cautiously talked to everybody, pilots and stuff. And nobody wants to talk about this because, I mean, I knew at that stage, and like when I was 17 or so, I knew enough psychiatry and stuff to say that that's magical thinking. If you think your thoughts affect radios, that's magical thinking. They will instantly class you as schizophrenic, and they will lock you up. I mean, I'm telling you, blanket. If you go to aerospace medicine guy and say, like, I think, you know, or pilot or something like that, and you say, I think, oh, fuck it. So if you say, go to any quack or anything like that and say, you know, I think my thoughts are affecting the radio, that's it. You'll be taken off flight duty. You will end your career. You will be put in a padded cell. That's what's, you know, it's not going to work out well for you. But if you talk to pilots and that, they say, yeah, they know it. People who've like been in battle situations, they know that you know, people's thoughts and stuff can affect electronics and machinery and stuff. So, you know, going down that path, I won't go into all the stuff, but I experimented and I absolutely proved to myself that you can control electronics, you know, with your thoughts. Though I wouldn't share it. I never shared. It's a big deal for me to record this, right? Because any psychiatrist looking at this will say, okay, Hugh's nuts, and show you in the DSM, like, these are symptoms. One of them is magical thinking. And so,
Hugh,
yeah.
can I just want to, because we talked about this, I mentioned something to you in a meeting quite some time ago, and when you mentioned the Fermi Paradox, and I think I made a comment about, well, we're holding the telescope around the wrong way. That I was looking at it from more a sort of traditional spiritual point of view, that we've become very separative, thinking that we're separate individual things in the world and therefore by extension in the universe as well, instead of being an intimate part of everything. And so just to put it simply, you know, when we look out onto the night sky, we think we're looking at something else, but we're not. We're just seeing the parts of ourselves that we don't recognize are a part of ourselves. So we say, oh, that's out there, but it's not out there. There's nothing out there. There's only just us. There's only one capital O1, I guess you could say, to put it that way.
Yeah, and it
And
seems that sorry, Gary, go ahead.
Yeah, sorry, I wasn't going to say that much more. I was just going to say that, like, you know, so what we're doing is a little bit like a dog that starts biting its own tail. Until it gets a mouthful of the fucking tail and hurts itself, it's not going to wake up to the fact that the tail is part of it. You know, and I'm wondering whether we're in that situation where it's what it comes down
exactly.
to.
That's it exactly. But imagine that dog. You see, it's told in the Ouroboros, right? The Ouroboros is trying to tell you that. But you see, imagine this now on the, you know, this is not you know, hippies around a fucking fire sharing a joint and discussing their philosophy of life. This is serious shit. We're talking Pentagon and nuclear missiles. So imagine these guys. They are looking out. They don't know what they're looking at, and they don't know they're creating it. And they're about to fuck. You know, the dog is about to bite his tail, and we're talking. That's a metaphor for us going to nuclear war with our own minds. You know?
Yeah.
It's serious. Yes.
Yeah, I was just trying to bring it down to that more. Sorry, DB, go on, get it out.
Yeah, I was about to say, so it seems that these the UFO people, whoever they are in the government, it's like its own little egregore. It's like a cult, sort of. It's its own little belief system nested in all these other, you know, cults in the system. And they're doing the neurosis. You talked about the Theseus neurosis in that video where they're chasing their own, you know, chasing their own mind. Yeah.
Yeah, but okay, so, you know, but how deep does this rabbit hole go? You're right, it's an egregore. It's more than one egregore, because I'm telling you, there are all these factions that have different beliefs, and they all, you know, completely religious beliefs, religious commitments to each one of these point of views, that it's us in the future doing retrocausality, or it's guys, you can imagine, they're all thinking in extremis again. Loads of DMT every time they talk about it is the, you know, these guys are absolutely certain. You fucking idiots, stop talking about it's us from the future. We're tracking these fucks. They come from the Pleiades. They're gearing up. There are more and more of these fuckers. We know that shit's about to hit the fan. This is all coming to head. So stop your shit. We need to fucking get fucking nuclearized. We're about to go into a interplanetary battle. And, you know, they think it that strongly. And
so all of that feeds energy into it, and it eventually solidifies as a material manifestation.
Yeah, but look, it's not homogeneous, right? There's also an equal faction that are all, you know, kind of hippie, and then that guy who was talking about the missiles going up and up. You see, I've heard that one too. What I've been told I've been told something which really gets my flesh tingling, and that's that the guys say, no, you never have to worry about a nuclear war. And I say, why? And they say, because they're guardrails. He says, I've been told, you see, most people agree that, say in the Pentagon, that we're an experiment of these guys, an old experiment of these guys, and it's a petri dish. You know, we're the organisms that they're creating, and we're a big part of the experiment. So it's kind of like Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, that they made the Earth as a giant computer, and, you know, that's where, you know, Douglas Adams was talking about exactly this viewpoint. And so, but look how fucking dangerous it is, because that guy, he's saying, what they're doing by shutting down the nuclear missiles in America and then, ramping them up, they're saying to us is like, these things are dangerous, get rid of them. These things are going to, these are guys from the future. They wouldn't, to ensure that we don't get on a different timeline and annihilate ourselves, they have to come back and do this, kind of episode of Doctor Who where he comes back to give himself the codes. And so they come back out of the future to give us the codes to get through the Fermi Paradox so that they can save their future selves. Get it? So anyway,
Hugh,
yeah.
Do you personally?
Hang on one sec.
Okay.
One sec. So those guys, they are thinking we have to get rid of all the nuclear missiles. They're telling us. The guy said on the tape, it's like the guys, they're fucking with the nuclear things to tell us, don't do this nuclear thing. And so now the other guys who say, yeah, sure, they're fucking doing that. The guys are about to invade us from the Pleiades. We know they're scared of nuclear weapons. Everybody agrees nuclear weapons are a big deal with these things. And so what these guys are saying is, like, if we disarm the nuclear weapons, that's what they want. They're fucking with us because they're hoping you will think they come in peace. As soon as we get rid of the nuclear weapons, that's it. You're fucking invaded, and we've got no defense. And so they are on the path of we've got to nuclearize. We've got to get this technology going so that we can fight this interplanetary battle. And so you see how fucked up this is. This is a fucking zoo. Okay, but go ahead, Gary.
What I was just going to ask, you mentioned of timelines there, and and what you said earlier about you bridge a wide spectrum of experience, from the woo over to the other. But I mean, do you ever personally feel as though timelines are switching just during a day or in your own life? Have you felt that or noticed that to any extent, that just sometimes you'll look up and think, hang on, there's been a subtle something has happened, that this is not quite the same universe it was 10 seconds ago. It's just as though somebody is stuffing around with, because, it's not hard to imagine that you've got infinite timelines stacked up adjacent to each other, and the difference between adjacent ones can be quite small, but just enough to avert something, or just enough to enable
all of this
something.
is bullshit. According to me, all of this is utter bullshit. The retrocausality, timelines, back to it's bullshit squared. It's just so you've got to hang on to your reason a little bit in this, and this is one of the cases where you have to hang on to your reason, because it makes no sense in the sense that that Doctor Who episode where he comes back in time to give himself the codes, and so then, well, where did he get the codes from? From himself, future self. Where did his future self get the codes from? Well, you're stuck now. Because there's this
don't you escape that if you've gone to another timeline? Do you escape that by jumping to another timeline?
That's Everett's bullshit. It's like, how do you get a different timeline?
I don't know. It seems
it's a fucked up idea of time. So time is not a line or a river and stuff. It's bullshit. That's what your alien cortex is telling you. There's only one time, and that's Kairos. It's experiential time. And you can't split experiences that way. Everett was a fucking idiot. Everett came up with the worst theory that anybody ever has come up with. It's a offense against Occam's razor like this. Never been a worse one. Anybody that believes in Everett's many worlds theory or different timelines is just a stupid cunt. Just get out the fucking room. You're just too stupid to talk to.
Yeah, I remember. I remember seeing that stuff, and my first thought was like, how does this impact conservation of matter and energy?
That's it. That's exactly what I was about to say. It's like Everett to account for basically one quantum fluctuation creates an entire new universe. And say, look, you stupid asshole, where do you get the energy, the matter, and all that stuff? You got it out of nothing. You're talking shit, man. Just absolute shit. It's like, don't even go there. Anyway, it's the stupidest thing known to man. I would put that as, a few things for definite sure, and one of them is that is not right. This is not us coming from the future. I mean, otherwise, just think about it. You'd do the other thing. What was that other movie where they go with a time machine, they leave a bit of gold, they come back, and every time they make a little loop in time, they got extra gold. Where's that gold coming from? Man, that's shit. This is bullshit. So it's like, anyway, so it doesn't work like that way. Information
Yeah,
doesn't
but
work
where
that
you have
way.
to,
Physics and conservation of energy don't work. It's bullshit. Okay.
where does you have to go back to where
Let's
does
let's not even do it. Let's not even do it.
Oh, all
Don't.
right, okay, okay,
It's
we
just
better leave
bullshit.
that.
Okay, just take my word for it. It's utter fucking crap. So okay, so then and don't if anybody hears this and wants to engage on that, I'm not going to engage with you because you're just too fucking stupid to waste time on. Because you're doing the makyo, you're doing the but Hugh, let me drag you down into the mud with me. It's like I'm not going into the mud with you. It's like I've done this. I'm not going to share with you what I've done, but I've done optics and superluminal tunneling and stuff, and it's all horseshit. So it's okay. So anyway, you can't send messages to the future. So, superluminal tunneling and stuff. I'll explain to you what it is, but it's not what you think, and it isn't fucking Back to the Future. Okay, for one thing, if these guys, so Stephen Hawking was a fucking idiot. He thought this, and he said, well, if there were people coming back from the future, why don't we see them, or something like that? And then other people said, well, we do. They're fucking aliens. But you see, if that were true, one of the explanations, which I'm surprised Hawkins didn't figure it out as a physicist, was that, it could be that going back into the past requires a lot of energy, and they just don't have the energy to go that far back, so that they could, basically come 5 years back. But we haven't got to the point where we invent time machines, so we can't really come back in any serious, hello, Mr. President, take me to your leader kind of shit, because they don't have enough energy to manifest the entire, say, spaceship or something. Maybe they just have enough energy to get a signal back, or a bit of light, or a thought message or something. But anyway, don't go there. It doesn't work out, and it's all. Yeah, I don't think it's what's going on. So let's just save ourselves a bit of time, because this is what time thing, they're trying to run the clock out on you so you don't get to the truth. So, okay, and who's trying to run the clock? Our own brain, our own psyche, the alien cortex, the demon inside us is trying to run the clock out of it. So we never actually see that it's pulling this trick. Okay, so anyway, okay. So now how deep does this go? Well, it goes very deep, and by that I mean is like we have the ability to, we're talking like golems and manufacturing, physical entities. So I'm not surprised that I've never seen a fucking spaceship in Roswell, but I'm not surprised that they do have spaceships. And this is what I was told. Okay, so now I'm gonna have to reveal a bit about myself and dox myself a little more, which I don't like doing, but anyway, I've got it. So, okay, so I told you about the microwave ovens and microwave melting glass and stuff, and that's where I came from and did experiments. So to do that, I assembled a team of like the best glass guys in the world and the best ceramics and materials guys, and some of the best microwave guys. So the microwave guys were, I can't tell you the names, but there's two guys that were called Dr. John, let's say, and Dr. Richard. Dr. Richard was from Canada. He did some of the serious measurements and stuff in Canada that generated data. It was so interesting that Dr. John, I don't know if he's still alive. This was in around 2005 or so. And then, but Dr. John was like in his 80s, and yeah, but really spry. I mean, really fit, both of them. They were really old guys, but they came out. The stuff I was doing was so exciting. They came out of retirement to do it. So, and it generated so many different shiny objects and woo things that you wanted to get into, that everybody was like, oh, I want to go take this direction. It's so exciting and stuff. But so I told you it was a glass furnace, but I can imagine, I'll tell you a bit about it. So It's technically it's called a top-fed glass furnace. So you have to imagine what it is a resonance chamber. So it's sort of, imagine your microwave oven but circular, and the cavity is exactly a multiple of the wavelength you're using. So you're using either 9 gigahertz, which is like industrial magnetrons, or 2.45 gigahertz, which is what your cooking microwave oven uses, right? So I think it's 14.25 centimeters, I think, is the wavelength, if I remember correctly. And then so as long as you do use 2.45 gigahertz, you use a barrel, let's say, of exactly cross dimensions of that. What you get is I'm always about feedback and stuff like that. So what if you get a waveguide, you deduct from multiple things so that they cancel each other out and stuff. You get a lot of electromagnetic energy in the barrel, and what is happening is you get the waves. They're coming from each side into the middle, focused into the middle. In the middle, then they cross over and then go back to the sides, and so you tune it and it becomes a resonant cavity. So now this is all stuff is known stuff, and my unique contribution to was because I had this realization that most people think, and radar experts and stuff, they think that glass is completely penetrable by radar. So it's basically transparent to radio waves. And so, they just know that in one compartment in their head and stuff. And so my contribution was to say, well, no, hang on. It's dependent on temperature. It's the dielectric of glass changes very slowly with temperature, but when you start getting it really hot, like cherry red, it's about 800 degrees Celsius, its dielectric properties go off the fucking chart. They go asymptotic. So radar absorption is all based on the dielectric of the material. So it's like saying, if you heat glass up a little bit, it'll reach thermal runaway, and the more it runs away, and the more heat it absorbs, the more it becomes dielectric, and the more energy it absorbs. And so you can see where this is going, right? Of course, people start asking, how high a temperature can you take it up to? And it's really based on the ceramic materials, that kind of thing. I mean, it's a material science project, because you see, all the electromagnetic energy has been focused in the middle of the furnace, the barrel. And they all go through the insulating materials completely unimpeded. Then they get to the hot part, and then they're in the thermal runaway. So it's how all the energy you put in goes into heat very, very efficiently and goes off the fucking charts. Well, obviously you can see where they're going to take it. The first thing they say, can you take this up to millions of degrees? You say, yeah, no problem. And they say then, you see where they're going with it. They want a fusion. Fusion. Here's the problem: fusion engines don't work. If you hear anything about it, you hear all these things all the time. Oh, these guys made a breakthrough. They have a net energy transmission, and now for a few seconds or something, they run energy positive on this fusion thing. It's all bullshit, because the physics doesn't allow it. The material science beats you, because as soon as you take the temperature up high enough, it starts spitting out neutrons, and the neutrons they're neutral. They go through everything just like the electromagnetism. So the neutrons will destroy any material you've got. So you wind up in this chasing. The material scientists chase the materials, and everybody's chasing their own ass in this kind of Ouroboros. But you can see a kind of a limit where they believe there's some magic material out there that you can contain the neutrons and stuff in it. It's like, but they're really getting to this point where you can see that it's not by accident that there are no materials that will withstand the neutrons. As you're looking at, it's telling you something. It's telling you like a theory of everything of the universe, right? So there's a reason why there are no materials like that, because fundamentally why neutrons are like they are and stuff. So you'll never get a fusion reactor because it'll break its walls, right? So anyway, I just do that. So, but anyway, that was a high interest area. But the other one was this, and this is why we get back to ufology. The great thing about this is once you initiate the glass melt, and you just have to get it. We realized later, you just have to get it. When I started, I realized that you take a radar absorbing material like hematites, basically iron, just powdered iron, right? Is it powdered iron and stuff? If it's used on these stealth fighters and all of that. They use it with epoxy. I'm telling you stuff which might be secret. I don't think it's so secret anymore. But anyway, those things are, any ferrous material as a powder would be very radar absorbent. As it happens, it's not much good for stealth fighters and that, because it makes a big radar hole. You have a big radar gap, and then that hole is a bigger signature as the fucking radar return. So you don't really get ahead with these stealth fighters and stuff. But anyway, that's an aside. We started off with hematite, using that as an initiator. It absorbed enough microwaves to heat up, and then it would reach a runaway and then melt all the glass around it. It's a top-fed furnace. You put all the materials in the top, and then you basically have a nice stream of glass coming out at the bottom. And then you just balance the energy that you're putting in with the rate that the glass is coming out, and then you stabilize it, and you've got this stream of glass, which essentially you can switch on and off. We found out after a while you didn't need the hematite to initiate. You just basically get a blowtorch and you just heat up a bit of the raw material, and it's as soon as you got a little spot of molten glass, that was enough, and you could, as long as you balance the energy and stop the energy going back into the magnetron and stuff, you could reach runaway just from initiating from a hotspot with a blowtorch, and so that saved a lot of time. And then we found basically you can switch it on. It's basically glass on tap. It's molten glass on tap. Now these guys went nuts because clear glass is not very difficult to make with the current conventional things, because it's done in a tank furnace. You either use gas, which is dirty, or otherwise you have these cathodes and anodes that are under the melt. It's very corrosive and stuff, and you have to have molybdenum walls, and the molten glass is very, very corrosive, and so you get all these particulates into the thing. It's unavoidable. The glass doesn't really, if you use induction heating, the clear glass doesn't really conduct like these guys say and stuff. So you have to put in things like iron, and then the glass is contaminated green. And anyway, so it's very, so what I'm telling you basically is that this microwave furnace was basically the purest quality glass you could possibly imagine, done, just on tap. This is right. Now, why is this all relevant? Because if you take a thin stream of glass like that, it makes, one of the things looked at is fiber optics. So fiber optics are normally made with platinum, just basically a platinum nozzle, and you melt glass and you string it out of the platinum nozzle, and in a thin fiber. Glass really, really wants to form a thin fiber. And so you just draw that up, put it on a spool, and you can spool up as much as you like. And then the reason why we're having this phone call, by the way, is it's over fiber optics. The bits of technology that made the modern world is especially the transistor, the laser diode, and the LED, and fiber optics. Those three. I mean, that's the modern world. If you're talking about Moloch and the beast and stuff, those inventions. Now, getting back to Wu and the ufology, I was told that, well, immediately when you think, okay, America's got these spaceships and they probably have anti-gravity and stuff, so does that mean America's flying anti-gravity machines around, and or why wouldn't they if they got these things out of the 50s? And why wouldn't they? And I'll tell you why. Is no, America doesn't have anti-gravity machines. They're not flying. They haven't reverse engineered all this alien technology, even though they have, as far as I know, various ships, spaceships that crashed in places, probably not in Roswell. They're more secret places than Roswell, by the way. But I'll give you an example. The guys go into Roswell. I believe there's a commuter flight that goes out. It's like a passenger jet with 300 people or so on, or maybe more than one flight. I think the windows are all blocked up. So you have to imagine that these guys go to Roswell, they get in a plane, they commute for about 30-minute flight, and they don't know where they are. They get out in a hangar, they go underground, spend all day underground, and then they come back, and they don't know. That's how secret these things are. But in one of those sites, they probably do have a spaceship. I think that spaceship was manifested by their own minds. It's not coming from outer space. So okay, and I'll go into why I think that. So if they have this, then everybody speculates. Well, and they know, everybody knows they've been trying to reverse engineer these things forever, since the 50s, basically. And so, you say, well, what inventions have they got? You see this Lou Lozado guy. He keeps on talking about materials and saying, he gives loads of breadcrumbs and saying that it's unfair that one company was given access to these materials and they become super rich, and then other companies lose out, and they're not even allowed to say or sue because it's so secret. So anyway, he's hinting all these things, and I'm thinking, what are these fucking materials and shit and stuff? And I don't know if there are any laminates of bismuth. I've never seen such a thing. This is what where I come into this, and what I know is, okay, let's go through a few of these things that, like, ufologists say. Occasionally you hear, oh, the transistor was an invention that they reverse engineered from spaceships. Nah, it's not. The transistor is Shockley and all of those guys. It's just a development of the tube. And by the way, the magnetron is too a vacuum tube. I can't remember what English people call it. A valve. A valve, yeah. So English people call it a valve. But anyway, it's a magnetron is just a valve where you've got a cross field. So you get a magnet, strong magnets on either side, and instead of you have a cathode. Think of basically a light bulb element in a light bulb, something red hot. Well, if you heat up an anode so that it's or cathode rather, and then it starts spitting out charged particles, and then you just have somewhere near it you have an anode, and then they all go to the anode and makes a current. Well, you just stick something in between there, like imagine a Venetian blind or something, and then you put a tiny current on the Venetian blind, and in effect it shuts the blind. So you can open and shut the blind with a tiny current, and then interrupt the flow from the cathode to the anode. That's what a valve is. A magnetron just takes those particles, makes them go round and round in a circle. If you get the cavity just right and make little like whistles, basically holes does the electronic version of a whistle, and the frequency whistles just like a flute or something like that. The particles going round and round. You can imagine them going around like a ionic wind or something. And then, what frequency they emit is the resonant frequency of that flute effect. So anyway, brilliant stuff. Anyway, so anyway, the magnetron is fucking awesome. I could tell you lots about the magnetron, but anyway, the magnetrons and stuff and Dr. John and Dr. Richard and stuff, they went back all the way to Percy Spencer. They worked with Percy Spencer, on the first radars and the first microwave ovens. The microwave oven was invented by Percy Spencer. He's a fascinating character because he was self-taught, but he was mad about microwaves, and he would have done a lot more with microwaves. He used to heat his lab and stuff with microwaves, which is freaks people out. But the heating, you can heat a room very easily because you only need to heat just the surface of your skin. And, Percy would do that. He would, very, very efficiently heat a room with terribly little. But nobody wants to do that. And the reason why we don't have microwave heaters for rooms and stuff is because, not because it's dangerous, it's because the public perceives it to be dangerous. Because it just so happened that this is, electromagnetic radiation. And it just so happened that the public learned in the 50s about ionic radiation, and they never got the two. They thought, radiation. And so everybody still thinks a microwave oven is terribly dangerous. It might cook your eyeballs like an egg or something, but in general, it's not. It's called electrophobia. And Dr. Jones was in many court cases as an expert witness. But I think to this day, there have been very few studies that have said that electromagnetism is causing cancer or something. They're occasional ones, but they're always difficult to nail down. So he was an expert witness always to say that 5G, all these things are not dangerous, and show all the evidence and stuff. But anyway, Percy Spencer invented the microwave oven because he had a Snickers bar in his pocket and while he was working with radar, and it melted, and he suddenly thought, hey, this is fucking awesome. He was that kind of guy, and so he stuck it deliberately in a radar. And the very first microwave oven was called the Radar Range because it was radar cooks food. And so they tried popcorn and it all worked like a dream. And so the microwave oven is often in surveys said to be the most popular invention of the industrial revolution. But anyway, I'm telling you the story of this and Percy and these background and stuff because there's the background to the magnetron. So the magnetron is very, very important. Most people know that the computer won the war. So they all know about Alan Turing and the bomb and decipher the Enigma machine and all the. It wasn't really so much Turing. It was really a guy called Flowers. And this thing called Colossus, it was the first computer, the first major computer with lots and lots of valves and programmable and stuff. So like the forerunner to von Neumann architecture and stuff, there was Flowers and stuff. So everybody knows about that and the computer. They don't know so much that there were two inventions that won the war. And then the other one was the magnetron because it made radar practical and lightweight in aircraft. When the Americans came into the war, they came in completely unprepared. They were not. They would have been fucking wiped out if Britain hadn't have shared all the technology in this technology transfer. One of the technologies they transferred was the magnetron, and that was so important that historians have said that this was the most valuable cargo that ever went to sea when it came across the shores of America. And that's no exaggeration. Without radar, basically, Britain and America would have lost the war. So now, the magnetron was invented in its workable state by these guys called Randall and Boot. And that is a great story in itself, but it was transferred to America in this exchange called the Tizard exchange. It was part of Lend-Lease that Britain gave technology to America in exchange for food. And so the magnetron was taken over with the Tizard group. I think Tizard himself actually brought it. And here's the important story, was that this is probably the most secret thing in the war. And he took this magnetron that Randall and Boot had made in a briefcase, just in a fucking briefcase. And he didn't handcuff it to himself or anything, so he didn't draw attention. And while he's standing, I think on Waterloo Station, they were waiting for the train that's going to take them to Southampton and across the Atlantic to America. They have this ultra secret bit of technology in the briefcase, and the briefcase was stolen. And of course they went fucking nuts, because basically the whole war is at stake while they're looking for this briefcase. To cut a long story short, there was big pandemonium. I guess they shut down the Waterloo station, and eventually they found that it was just an honest mistake, and there was a porter who had just picked it up. So they recovered it, got on the train, and went. I think they should look closer at that porter, because if they did, I think they'd probably find that he had like almond eyes and grey skin and not much of a nose. And the reason why I say that is because this is what I was told, when they got to America, to those guys, so America started putting these things, testing them in aircraft as radar, and they got the fright of their life, because they found that like radar was painting these things, and they were all these things that were close. What radar apparently did, as I was told, was it uncloaked them. So they found all these fucking flying saucers and stuff hanging around bases and checking them out and stuff. And then when they started with radar, it uncloaked them, and it also fucked them up. It fucked them up really badly, and so they would lose control and they crashed and shit like that. So that's why you got all these crashes happening in the early 50s. What I was told is then the aliens fixed it. So that as time went on, they got fewer and fewer crashes, less of this shit happened, and they fixed the problem that the flying saucers had with the radar. So that's why you don't get any more. They got the few crashes that they got, and then they tried to reverse engineer them. So he's saying, like, so what did they get out of them? It was like, okay, not the transistor. The transistor, forget it. It was really shockly, and it's not much of an advance over valve and stuff. The other one, sometimes people say, is Velcro. Nah, I don't think so. Velcro came from this guy and his dog. He was walking his dog. It's from natural phenomena. The dog got burrs on him, and then he had access to an electron microscope. He looked at the burrs and he saw, that there were little hooks, and that's where Velcro came from. It's not reversed alien technology. Now, the one technology, apart from, say, a piece of metal, which I'm not familiar with, laminate or something like that, I'm not familiar with those materials things. The one I was told was fiber optics. So now let me tell you a bit about fiber optics. So the fiber optics was known quite a long time ago. I mean, even in the 1800s and stuff, they knew that you could duct light in a glass fiber. By the way, the only reason why a magnetron works is because it has a waveguide. So the science of waveguides and stuff is you have to have a multiple of the wavelength, and it's a very specialized field on the waveguide. But if you take a magnetron, say, out of your microwave oven, you might be able to electrocute yourself, but it's not going to do much. It's just it doesn't really work unless you guide the electromagnetism into a cavity like your microwave oven, and that guiding is done by a waveguide. So radar, everything only works with a waveguide. You need that duct, and so the radiation is kind of useless without it. Electromagnetic radiation. So now, what is a glass fiber? A glass fiber is a waveguide. It's just for a tiny, tiny, tiny short wavelength. It's the wavelength of light. So microns, and then why it never mounted to anything, even though they knew about the principle that you could duct light down a glass fiber, is because you had this impurities in the glass. So this is why now you see why the microwave furnace that I did was so important, because it's all about how far you can actually duct the light in fiber optics without it attenuating. So it's basically the decibel loss. And So glass couldn't be made very purely until, you know, until, well, what I'm getting to now. And so, you know, the whole reason why we're having this call over fiber optics and the internet exists and stuff is because they develop silica high purity fibers that, you know, could go for kilometers without attenuating all the light. By the way, if it was just left up to cables and electricity and copper, like the undersea cable, the Great Eastern and those things laid across the Atlantic, the internet, this current world wouldn't exist, because the transatlantic cable, if it was the copper one and stuff, it degraded. They needed to put more and more power in. The more power, then they had hysteresis, and basically the more inefficient it got, and it didn't last very long. It was unusable, and that's what will happen if you had duct electricity over wire. But light will go as far as the purity of your waveguide, or in this case, this channel of glass is it has complete internal refraction, and that's why it works as a waveguide. So now here's another bit of science of why it has complete internal refraction. So it's kind of like a soliton wave. The light goes down it like a soliton wave down a canal, like a water canal. So you can go anywhere. You could go across the universe. What's stopping you is the light has, you know, the glass has impurities in it, and so it attenuates the light, and so it doesn't go very far. So it's all about how pure you can get the glass, and so it's like they got Corning and stuff got very pure glass from silica and something, and I think in the 60s or something, and then that was made the modern world. Okay, not a lot of people know that, and that there's probably a good reason, because they don't want too much attention on that. This is what I was told, so hold on to your hat. I was told that they reverse engineered these fiber optics from Crest spaceships. Now, they didn't understand how the things worked. They just would say, you know, there was lots of fiber optic, like glass fibers, in the spaceship, so they could see that it made the spaceship work somehow. They could never figure out how, but what they would do is they would they keep everything compartmentalized, right? So that they give to, say, a material scientist, they give them a tiny bit of material and say, you know, this is capable of doing anti-gravity. Tell us how. And the guys who actually give them that, they don't know how. They're just hoping that the guys will work it out. And then the guys try various shit, and then, you know, gigahertz radiation stuff. Try various things to see if they can make some anti-gravity field or something shit. And that's what they kind of do. So they gave the fibers, so these are very intrinsic to the thing. We don't know what they do, but, you know, can you make them work to control various bits of equipment and stuff? And so obviously the guy said, okay, we'll stick a light on the side and stuff. And they you know, said they're very high purity and stuff. And so it was a known effect of basically ducting light. But here's the thing. They suddenly realized, well, this is, you know, we can do this technology. Here's the thing is, like, just in general, I want to introduce this to you because this is part of the woo stuff and my explanation for them. They're creating this stuff out of our own minds. So you see, what they did in effect, I believe, is something close to like what happened with, say, bone china. So bone china was an English invention, I think from Wedgwood or something like that. But anyway, china came traditionally from China, funnily enough, and it was this fine porcelain that was so beloved by, you know, 19th century England, was addicted to tea and fine china. And so, but nobody knew the secret of how the Chinese were doing this. turned out the Chinese were just making it out of very fine clay. But they didn't know that. They tried to reverse, in England, they tried to reverse the China Cup. And so they tried all various things to see what the trick was. And I think Wedgwood or somebody like that said, well, I know what they're doing. They're grinding up bone, and then they're melting that down with the clay. And they tried it, and it was, bingo, we got it. That's what they're doing. And that's where fine bone china came from. It wasn't what they were doing. They were just using really fine clay that doesn't exist in England. But because they didn't know that, they made it something actually better than the Chinese thing. Fine bone china is better than the Chinese thing. So you can stimulate scientists into developing something even better. So I'm not surprised if the aliens went and looked at, say, the fiber optic stuff that they came and said, like, fuck, that's a cool idea. We should have thought of it and taken it from humans back into their craft. Is because, you see, this is where I'm going with this. I think if you get a room full of scientists and you say, okay, you just give them an object, I mean, just some exotic material or something, just, machined. It's a trick, right? You machine some exotic material. I would say you could do this test. It's a scientific test to prove my theory of where these aliens are coming from. You get a little object that's not normal Earth thing, but something unusual shape, maybe something that's 3D printed, so it's in a nice globe shape with very complicated and stuff, and you just put a fucking symbol on it. You just stamp it with some, like the Extinctionati sigil, let's say, and you say, okay, this is ultra secret. You read these people into the program, and by the way, just on that score, just a thing, an aside. Most people think that the Official Secrets Act is the only thing. I think laymen think that. But in all these programs, it's worth knowing that these guys do. There's much, much more secret stuff that you sign, and they sign away their lives. And so, from what I've heard, these things are like medieval oaths. I mean, if you don't believe that this is a secret cult, an underground cult within the government and within the deep state within the government, is that these oaths are fucking diabolical. I mean, they're biblical, and they're much more than, oh, you will go to jail. I mean, they're just off the fucking charts, which is one of the reasons why these guys are so scared, because they have more than sign in blood. And so it's a religious incantation. Some of the seriously secret stuff. And so you must have that as a background. It's an important bit of subtext on what the guys will reveal and how. And also based on that is I've found out a lot more than I could, because I've never taken one of these oaths. I'm not eligible. But I learned a lot more outside of that because of various things, but also because people made assumptions. And so, but anyway, I know a lot more than I should, and I know a lot more than I could if I had a genuine security clearance. But I'm not bound. All these guys like Lou, Elizondo and stuff coming out with the stuff now, is those guys are bound by this. Basically, I'm an outsider. So, like, what I face, I mean, if I trod on a landmine, I wouldn't even know it. But I run the risk of being whacked in the night. Even for this video, yeah. And I'm absolutely whackable. I mean, I'm out at sea at night on a boat. It's like, in fact, a submarine, they don't even have to raise their periscope. They could take me out in the night. I couldn't even do a Mayday call. And believe me, they would. They've done worse. By the way, the submarines take on a lot of fishing trawlers every year. It's kind of a dirty secret in the Navy, but they can't always see these, trawlers dragging nets. Often submarines run into them, and what happens is the poor guy in the trawler starts going backwards at about 100 miles an hour and it gets pulled under. What they do is they just cover it up and pay out the families and stuff, but it happens all the time. And I'm just saying it because to say, whoa, I am easily rubber outable. If Hugh ever disappears, U.S. Navy submarine in the night is a classic way they would get rid of a guy like me. They don't even have to, bat an eyelid. So anyway, I'm saying that I maybe if I trod on a landmine and I, revealed something or revealed too much or something, it's like I wouldn't even know I'd overstepped the mark. But anyway, I'm not eligible for Guantanamo Bay and lifetime in prison or tortured to death or whatever the secret, because I never agreed to any of that stuff. Anyway, so that's the background. Anyway, so getting back to my theory of what's going on. If you hear, and this is testable in a lab, if you give a group of scientists and hard-headed guys and stuff some kind of object stamped with a sigil, and you say it does something, it like does anti-gravity, it can cloak itself invisibly or something, and you just say shove it at them, and so they'll work on it, and so you run the risk or maybe the benefit of them actually doing it, because they will convince themselves and engineer themselves into a new bit of technology like bone china or fiber optics. Here's what I think is happening. What you're really doing is you're convincing them of their own psychic abilities and their own paranormal abilities is really what's happening. The science and stuff, they just need it as a crutch to convince themselves that it's real. But once they've used that science on themselves, that's almost like a spell that breaks open their own cities. Cities are SIDI. It's a thing, so that's from the other side, the woo side that I come from. You see, I've seen the city. I've done the cities. I know the city. I've had various effects, which if you torture me, I will tell you about. But so I know the city side. I have no problem with that. And I know the science side. And so they merge with me because I'm saying what the scientists are doing it without knowing it. They think they're doing hard science. And I think that they actually unlocking their own cities so that they come to these new things. They say, oh no, it's all mundane. And they show you all these mundane steps, and they make the science mundane, and they don't realize that it's, they're edging on the edge of their own cities. So let me explain it to you this way, because I'll explain it to you from the woo side, not the scientific side. So from the woo side, I'd say, like, I spend a lot of time Sri Rama Krishna and all that. I hope you guys know who Sri Rama Krishna is. If you don't, here's a little recap. Sri Rama Krishna is a famous Bengali saint and mystic, and he just, I think he died in 1888, somewhere around there. But anyway, he just made it almost into the modern era. So he's kind of like Chaitanya or Buddha or somebody like that. But we have not much historical evidence. We just have the last remnants of historical evidence of one of these god figures. And so there are 3 photographs of him, 3 photographs of an actual picture of like, the Buddha, in other words. It's to say you can see his status evolving, Sri Ramakrishna, and his kind of godhead. I think the last time I looked, if you say, I believe they're getting to the stage in Chennai or Madras with the word that if you deny Sri Ramakrishna as God, you can actually go to jail now. I do believe that is the case. But it's amazing because it's the development of Christ. We're looking 100 years into the development of Christ. The great thing about Sri Ramakrishna is there's still sources, like newspaper articles and stuff, that you can go back and figure out the real story. So I keep on telling this to, people who study comparative religion and say, you can see the birth of Christ in Sri Ramakrishna, and it's all there. You can study it in the thing, how what's going on. The whole phenomena of Christ is there in Sri Ramakrishna unfolding for you to see. I never got any one of these guys to go into it because they kind of, I think, don't want to know the trick. They're kind of religious and they don't want to destroy their religion. But anyway, I did. I went and studied Sri Ramakrishna from both sides, from the scientific, because it's such a unique thing. Now, Sri Ramakrishna. Okay, well, if you ever ask me, somebody did recently, was what's your most influential book or something, I'd have to say probably The Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna. So, cool. Little funny thing there when I said that. Anyway, The Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna is on the other side of the fence from tech, and that's on woo. So the Shri Ramakrishna in the Gospel, so he tells the story, or he tells parables all the time. And one of the parables he says is very revealing, and he actually, in a lot of ways, is revealing the secret to cities. And we'll listen up. The story goes something like this. I'll have to paraphrase, but it's basically an Indian guy, an ordinary peasant guy, not a high caste guy and stuff. He comes to Brahman Faker, a wise man, holy man, and says, as Indians often do, like, I've got this problem. I have to cross this river every day, and I'm getting scared to cross the river because it's filled with crocodiles, and I have to wade across. There's no bridge, and I'm getting scared. Occasionally the river floods, and I can't get to work, and I need some help. And so the faker says, okay, there's no problem. I will grant you the cities to walk on water. You can just walk across the water every day, walk across the river. And I say, oh, fantastic. And he said, like, okay. He says, here, let me do it. And he gets this banyan leaf or banana leaf or whatever, and he scribbles something on the leaf, folds it all up, and then gives it to the guy and says, like, just strap this, just get a thread, strap it to your ankle. You'll be able to walk across the river. And the guy does it, and it works like a charm, and he walks on water every day. The faker says, like, whatever you do, don't unwrap the thing and don't have a look inside. So you know where this is going, of course, that as the guy is going across the river, he starts to get curious, and he goes, like, I wonder what the faker actually wrote in the thing and what he did. What is inside the leaf that allows me to walk on water? And for a while, he can suppress his curiosity, but the more he thinks about it, the more he thinks, there must be a seriously powerful spell in there. Maybe if I get hold of that spell, if I look at what the spell was, I could use it. I could get these powers and stuff. And anyway, this thinking gets the better of him. Eventually, he can't contain his curiosity. And one day, while he's walking across the river, he's overpowered by curiosity to the extent that he pulls out the leaf, unfolds it to have a look what's inside. And he sees that what the faker has done, he's just like scratched with a nail the name of God, Rama. He's just written Rama, scratched on a leaf. And the guy goes, fuck it. That's it? You just like scratch Rama on a leaf? Is like a fucking fraud. And then instantly he sinks through the water and drowns. Okay, now, do you understand what this story is saying? It's many layered, right? There are a lot of ways to see it. For a dipshit will take some.
But this is the story of the mind, Hugh. That like, as soon as you want to focus down on one thing, you lose everything else, and the mind's.
It's kind of belief. It's kind of belief. You see, there are lots of ways to read it.
But in terms of the UFO thing, because
there's belief.
I was thinking in terms of the UFO thing, because
I was thinking belief too, exactly. And then he's like, oh, this is all bullshit. He just wrote, and then he sinks because you stop believing that you can walk on the water. So it's sort of like what the scientists are doing. They're believing that it's alien technology, and they're reinforcing that in their group. They're like sort of creating an egregore.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, it's getting back to what he said. It's a parallel to what you said about making the suggestion to the scientists. But I was thinking more back earlier in the conversation where we were talking about our separation from the universe. Part of that is
because... don't go there yet. No, don't. That's too.
Oh, okay. All right. Shut up. I'll shut up.
So okay. So you see, DB got it. What Shri, the faker, the holy man, has done is he hasn't done anything, and the faker knows it. The faker knows that the telepathic powers, the ability to walk on water, is in the guy. All he did was trick the guy into believing into his own powers. And so that's the trick. That's the trick of cities. So I've experimented with this, and I've done this because, almost by accident, because when you sort of get to a certain stage, you start fucking gaslighting yourself, and you start to realize you have cities, and so okay, mine was control of animals, but like, you start to think, oh fuck it, I'm losing my mind. You are losing your mind if you think of it as an alien cortex. But because I had the scientific side, I didn't just go like, oh yay, I've got cities and stuff. I knew this was really dangerous because it's most likely magical thinking, and you're going psychotic, and you're going to get locked up if you carry on like this. So I very cautiously did science experiments on myself, and obviously one is to check with other people that I'm not fooling myself and making this up. Don't say anything, Gary. So
Oh,
put
all
it on mute,
right.
Gary. Put it on mute. Okay, Gary, what?
I'm just suggesting that obviously you don't even think about using these techniques on the Extinctionati.
Well, I sort of did some like how I came up with that picture for the solstice, and like that writing I did, that came from some voice I can't explain. Like I was meditating on the Extinctionati symbol and carrying it with me for weeks, and then all of a sudden, it's like building up the teapot, and then that explosion happened, and I got possessed by something, and I cranked that stuff out in like 2 days. So it's sort of
Okay,
like
but
that.
you see, okay, I'll give you some extra information on this that I don't think even Shri Rama Krishna and these Indian fakers and that realize, and that's that. I think there's a general belief in India and stuff that you have to trick the guy. So in other words, it's kind of in the story that if he knew the trick, he'd fall and drown below the waves. But you see both of what TB's saying now and Gary is like, yes, I'm using all of this stuff on you, but here's the thing: is I can tell you what they don't know. Is I can tell you it's the placebo effect. You see, like what they found with placebos as well, that like placebos seem to be being perfected. Now you know why. What big pharma is doing with placebos and all the testing is unlocking everybody's cities for health. And so they see the placebo getting more and more effective and drugs getting less and less effective. And so we're spending gargantuan billions of money in medical research, and we're perfecting the placebo. What we're really doing is, I think, a lot of woo health practitioners would agree that we're perfecting people's belief in their own abilities to heal themselves. But let's not go into the health thing. Here's the thing: what they found with placebos, they thought too. The placebos scientists thought that placebos only worked because of the trick. They fooled you into this auto-suggestion. And then they found amazing thing, and that's no, the placebo worked even if you told the person it's a placebo. You say, here, you're part of the, so in other words, you unblind the test, and you say you are in the placebo group, and you are in the control group, and you are in the medicated group, and it's like you can tell everybody. It doesn't change the result. They always thought it had to be blind and placebo effect to take effect. They had to believe it was a medicine and stuff. No, it goes so deep you can actually tell people. So I can actually do this to you. What Gary's saying is, "Are you doing?" Yes, I'm doing this to you. But the thing is, it's you. See, all I'm doing is I'm unlocking it in you. And what a lot of fakers and totally men that don't know is I can tell you too, it still works. So we're safe all the way around. Anyway, let's get back to fiber optics and stuff like that. So, okay, so if I'm right, if what I was told was right, and fiber optics comes from this root and stuff, it's very. I think you can see what I'm saying here. That if you okay, I must reveal a bit more now about those reverse engineering projects and stuff. So what have they reverse engineered? Very little. The only thing they've reverse engineered are things that are kind of trivial, well, hugely impactful in the case of fiber optics, but not flying cars and anti-gravity and, you know, teleportation. And they haven't got any of that. And so here's the thing. I asked to see, I was told, you know, okay, how do these things actually work and stuff? And they say, well, the reason why we can't reverse engineer them is because they have components and things, and they're stamped with symbols. They know that the symbols are very, very important for the working of the machine. They can't figure out how the how the symbols work. So I've been told that you can, they can do it. They can put the symbols on stuff, but they don't understand what the language is or what these things do. So you can put the symbol on stuff, and I've been told that things will self-assemble. They can put, you know, a few parts that they found together on the actual machine. They put all the right symbols on, and the thing will self-assemble into this other component. They don't know what that component is. And they will also put a symbol on one thing, and it'll affect some other component on the other side. They don't know how these things work together or what they do, so they're kind of fucked. But now think of it. Think of it back in like Shri, Rama, Krishna and stuff with the Rama written on the leaf. It's just a sigil. So my theory on how these craft work, if you say they are little green men, which I don't, but is that the little green men are they're using all their own brains to fly the machine, even assemble the machine, and not in the way we do we kind of, why we so primitive is because we believe that you have to assemble things by hand, and and have scientific ideas and mechanism and be able to explain the mechanism in a mundane kind of what steam engine kind of way, so that Michael Shermer, the cop inside us, is happy. And then that's the only way we can squeak through to the past. But they can short circuit that and say, nah, man, this is all, just cut out the middleman. You don't have to get a lathe and machine. Just do it with your mind. And so that's how the guys would be creating the machine, the little green men. They know that whether the component self-assembles or does some telekinetic kind of activity or something like that is based on the observer. So it's based on the state of the person observing, the mindset. They know that that has something to do with it. But then you can see the world they're in. They're in Lionel's world, and the world of magic. And they're back to the very old stuff of witches and wizards and John Dee and stuff, and there's Enoching angels and demons and stuff. And they said, like, this is just fucking magic. They're just putting fucking Harry Potter shit. They're just putting a magic spell on the thing, and it does a Walt Disney. But you say, yeah, that's the realm we're in. But they haven't got it yet. That they're not little green men. They created the little green men. They created this whole fucking thing. Right? So even though they have bodies and stuff, you see, why? You see, okay, ask a simple question like, do they have living aliens? So like, no, of course they don't have living aliens, because if they had living aliens, what you would do is you just hold a gun to the guy's head and say, like, fucking tell me how this works. And it's like everybody knows that they've been trying for like 70 years without much success, apart from huge success like fiber optics. They haven't been able to get anywhere with this stuff. And if they had living guys to torture, they would just torture the fuck out of them until they told them. So do they have bodies? Yeah, well, imagine they have bodies, but because they were crashed craft. Now to them, and this is the dangerous part, is they would say, Hugh, you're talking shit. We have bodies, we have machines, we have craft, man. So these guys are real. They're coming from outer space. And I'm saying they wouldn't believe me that I say, no. They're coming from your head. You manifested them, and I say, look, now they're real. You can knock on that. Look at this. Smack me on the head with a piece of, exotic material. I'd say, yes. You still don't get it. The human brain is so powerful that it can actually manifest these things in the concrete, and that's the bit that they're not.
Can I again? I want to. Can I drag it back to the more fundamental thing? It's
Yes,
not
you may now.
Yeah, look, just to put it in simplistic speak, if you can bear with it. If you were God, and you woke up one morning and thought, "Oh fuck, it's so bloody boring. I'm going to make the universe today," and so you get out of bed and you start making it's so many squillion billion megatons of hydrogen and then helium and iron, and I pile it all up and get it all ready. And I think suddenly at lunchtime I stop and think, what the fuck am I doing? I don't have to actually create stuff. I've only got to create the effect. So I mean, and we're God in this very profound sense, not in some trivial sense, and so we're not actually making these bodies and machines and these alien things. There isn't any stuff. We're creating what convinces us of the existence of these things. It's like, I'm sure most people have had a kind of a dream where you might dream the solution to some problem or some kind of strange object, and it's just so bloody impressive in the dream, and it's so plausible, and you've solved your problem, you've created whatever and you wake up and find that all you did was create the sensation of the satisfaction of that thing, but you didn't create the solution and you didn't create the thing. You only created the final thing, which was the feeling that it would have produced and the satisfaction from it. And I mean, at a sort of very profound level of the universe, isn't that what's happening here? That
Yes, it's very simple
because
logic. So it's very logic is simple. So
yeah, that's what I want to just bring it back to, this very fundamental thing, rather, because otherwise, if you bring it up a level to say that, well, their minds are being goaded to access these supposed cities and therefore be able to recreate or create this alien technology, is bringing it up to a level where people are going to start misinterpreting the possibilities here and get carried away. I think that's where it becomes woo-woo. That's where the danger is there.
it
You
is.
say that to the wrong person.
Apprentice. Yeah, they don't know what they're doing. So it's very much sort of. But just to go further to what you said, then just ground it in very simple logic. Okay, so we're talking, like you said, like God. So we're God, and we don't know we're God. So this is. So the thing is, why don't we have the power to like move shit at will? Why don't I move this coffee cup and stuff? And he said, because you're God. You have the power of God. So if you don't believe that you're God, you have the superpower to stop you moving the cup is equal or as great as your ability to move the cup. So it's like, it sounds a bit like a hack motivational speaker and stuff when you say all that. But if you say we don't know our own powers, therefore we don't know the power that's stopping us unleashing those powers. I mean, it sounds very trite and hack motivational speaker, but they are kind of right in that way. But it works like you said in like a dream. So okay, so now in this, right, you get into solipsism very quickly because you say, how many gods are there? There's only one. But a lot of people, okay, let's go while we're on simplistic arguments and stuff, in a sophomoric kind of teenage way, people will say, no, solipsism can't be true because of things like, they use stupid arguments, logically flawed arguments, like saying, can't be true because there are people like Shakespeare in the world and there are people like Mozart in the world, And you can't write Mozart, and you can't write Shakespeare. Therefore, there must be other minds in the world. I say, no, moron. You're not thinking it through. Think of it, if you want to understand solipsism, think of it like a dream. That's a good go-to thing. So saying like, what that argument is saying is, I come out and say like, I had this amazing dream last night. It's like Mozart was, I dreamt I, walked into a room, there was Mozart playing the piano, fucking beautiful music. And they'd say, no, you couldn't have had that dream. So, oh, I did, I really had that dream. They said, no, you couldn't. Why couldn't I? Because you can't play the fucking piano. And you certainly can't play it as well as Mozart. I say, no, as I said, it was the dream Mozart. You say, how could he? It's like, look, I dreamed that it was good music, and I dreamed it was Mozart, and I dreamed the whole fucking thing. And that's the bit that they can't get. So, like, you can also dream other minds. Cut to the chase. So anyway,
Yeah.
I'm telling you all this. I hope you're getting all of this, and it's not being misconstrued. But what the long and the short of this is, I'm trying to warn you off what I think is about to happen. And this is a whole lot of paranormal shit and stuff. And I thought I could just tell you, like as we get closer to the flipping, people are going to go barking mad. And this is one of them. But you're talking about people with superpowers going barking mad. And I realize I have to tell you a bit about this because they have the superpower to manifest a fucking flying machine that comes down and lands on the fucking earth, or to go to nuclear war with things. See, go back to those guys in the F-19s, right, and those Super Hornets and stuff. Those Navy pilots, this is dangerous shit, right? Because if they're creating that tic-tac object and these things that are splashing in that, and they're doing, I've seen it in the Air Force, and it works by suggestion. Everybody's working on themselves. And so say the fighter controllers, imagine this scenario. So the fighter controllers, they look in radar and stuff, and they see these tracers, and they go like, fuck, what the hell is that? Jesus, look at the speed. They're working themselves up in a very simple way. Now, you're saying like, people will say, Michael Shermer has to advance and get over his, this is just bullshit ufology for cranks and kooks. It's like, well, this is why things are advancing, because that's no longer available to libtards, because the Pentagon has come out and said, no, these are real shit. So sorry, Michael Shermer, you got to shift, man. It's like it's time for a little realization here. And so that rug has been pulled out from under them. So now you say, okay, these are real things, but what exactly what exactly are they? And it's like a real stretch to say, well, we're manufacturing them out of our heads. But if Michael Shermer's believed where he should be now, that these things are real, then he would say, okay, Hugh, you've got to be wrong. These can't be telepathic. These guys can't be creating this because, wait for it, they have FLIR cameras. These are things on film. They have them in computers. They have cross corroboration with the radar guys. The radar guys have those radars traced, recorded. You can piece all these things together from 15 different angles. These are real physical objects. And I say, yeah. So think it through. We have the power to actually do psychotronics. If you go back right to the beginning when I was telling you, we can affect the electronics to the extent we can make a false image on your hard drive. So here's how it works. If you put all this together, you see the guys on the radar scope. They're looking and getting themselves all excited, building up DMT and stuff, even before the fucking pilots got into his cockpit. So already there's a big buzz. So now there's also telepathy involved. The pilot who's just done his briefing and stuff, he's also thinking this is going to be an unusual day. I can't tell why, but he's getting a lot of these ripples, even suggestions, just people's expressions and stuff. But there's some shit going on. So he's pretty keyed up by the time he gets in his cockpit. Then he takes off, and then they vector him towards this thing, and now he's starting to say, hey, I'm getting a trade too. And then more excitement. And they say, yeah, well, we didn't want to tell you, but there's a whole fleet of those fucking UAPs out there. And he says, like, they vector him to intercept and stuff. And you see how they're working on each other. They're all building each other up to believe this whole thing. And eventually the guy in that one thing with the Hornet pilots, then he goes in to investigate, and then he says, well, the Tic Tac thing is responding to me. He's basically doing maneuvers in conjunction with me. And so you say, well, the obvious explanation is it's him. It's his own thinking rather than a little green man in the Tic Tac. And the proof of that is that then they say, well, the Tic Tac goes to the cap point, what we would call the rendezvous point. But they get completely gaslit because they say, the cap point is secret. Effectively, it's only the pilot, the briefing guys, the ops guys, the guys in radar and stuff. They know, they're the only ones that know. So if you believe that they're little green men, and then these guys miraculously know where the cap point is, and the Tic Tac goes there and waits for the pilot to arrive there, what you're saying is these guys actually know, they're telepathic, they can look at the briefing, all of that. And so how likely is that? It's not logically consistent, because if they're that powerful, A, they wouldn't need the experiments, if this is a petri dish. B, who gives a fuck about nuclear weapons? They could just fucking, affect our brains so that we wouldn't launch them. It makes no sense. Why are they trying to prove to us that they're so fucking clever and like the guys think? So there's a more obvious explanation, and that's that it's almost a proof. The fact that you had this closed bit of knowledge where the rendezvous point or the cap point was is only known by a few individuals. So go to reasonable things to say that it is those individuals that are creating the phenomenon. And so, that's almost a kind of a proof of it. But I must tell you now about this, big spaceship coming down. So okay, now I'm telling you not to get on the spaceship, and I've got to tell you that my reasoning for it, it's just a logical deduction that you'd never want to do it. By the way, a lot of these people think, and I'm talking Mormons and all these guys all infiltrated in the military, and they think two things. One of them is interplanetary war. The other one is, this is the rapture, guys. This is the Bible.
Will you remember?
Gary, God's an alien stuff. Not now. So God's an alien. God's going to come down, and then from Mormons think from Kolob. It's a planet just off the cloaked, I presume. But anyway, they think that God's going to come down and take everybody up. Now, go through this thing where I'm saying to you, yeah, we could get this collective hallucination, elevate the Pentagon with the power of our collective city. Yeah, we could create this fucking spaceship. But here's the thing. Would you get on it? And say, like, no, logically you wouldn't get on it. Now, I hope if this thing comes down that I'm not steering you completely wrong, because there could have serious consequences for listening to me. Not so much the flipping. As far as I can see, there are no serious consequences. This, I could seriously influence you in a way that could really fuck you up. So take what I say, really think about it carefully and decide what you want to do. I would never get on that spaceship, and I'll tell you the logic of why. See, all these guys, we're talking the spaceship thing is the space encounters, Close Encounters of the Third Kind, the movie, right? So that's what all these fucking egotistical little fuckheads believe, is that we're so fucking special and the aliens are doing this experiment and it's all about us. And then, then they take us up and we all, the worthy, go to heaven and stuff. And it's like, how likely is that? It's like, guys, if this is all an experiment in a petri dish, it's obviously a failed experiment, right? So if they take all of these guys, if it's a big experiment the aliens are doing, and they take they're just taking them up for recycling. So look, you precious little fucks. Would anybody take us off this planet? We just fucked an entire planet. Do you honestly think they're going to take all these precious little libtard darlings to their own planet? As I said in the fucking introduction on the Sirius website, if we're in fucking alien cortex quarantine, there's nobody in the fucking universe that had any intelligence that would touch us with a fucking barge pole, let alone take 8 billion people off to this fucking rapture in heaven. It's like they're just going to take you and put you in a fucking gas chamber. This is what I've been hinting at. Whether if you take that left path of Paul Kingsnorth and these guys, you'll get on the fucking spaceship, and that's a gas chamber. So it's like they're only going to recycle you. It's like, look at the logic this way: is what would this heaven be like? If you go up to this heaven in the clouds, it's like everybody goes, way, close encounters of the third kind, bye-bye planet, we leave it to the animals. And you, because I'm not I'm hiding in a fucking cave. I intend to be the last man left alive, and if all you fucks get on the thing, I'll say, bye, assholes. I'm in paradise, you're fucked. So it's like, and why are you fucked? But where would they take you? We evolved for this planet. This is Eden. This is paradise. It doesn't get better than the earth we fucked up. So all these guys, these communists and these Kingsnorths and these Christians and these Mormons, what's going to happen to them? At the very best, they're going to take you into some simulation, which is like a farm upstate or something, put you out to pasture. And if you're a communist, you go like, oh, now we get our communist utopia. And you say, yeah, we'll give it to you on VR if you like. It's the kindest thing they could do to these idiots. And then, you'd be there in your communist heaven, and you'd go like, well, this is fucking great. And it's like, what should we do this afternoon? Should we watch a movie? What movies have we got? Well, they're just the same old Pravda things about the end of history and stuff. And oh, that's fucking boring. I'm sick of that. Is there anything else to do? No, that's about it, really. It's the end of history, communist utopia. Oh, fuck. Where the fucking anarchists? Where did they go to? Because I feel like a bit of excitement, a bit of entertainment. Let's fuck up some anarchists like communists normally did on Earth. So like, well, they went into their own little VR thing. We don't know where they are. It's just communists here, and you don't want to fuck up a communist. So it's like, can you see? It's hell. It's not fucking heaven.
Yeah, that reminds me
Imagine if you're Christian and you go up.
Yeah, what you're saying, like, because I was talking, my brother and I were talking, he was really hammering on about Christianity, and then, I was like, going through it with him, like, no, afterlife ain't real, God is our consciousness, it's not out there in heaven. And then he got pissed off and he's like, okay, then what's your solution? I'm like, a reunion. And he's like, what reunion? Humans with Earth? That reunion?
Yeah, exactly. Well, this is what I'm saying. So like, okay, let's go through the Christian version of that. We don't. So you're a Christian, and you're yay! It's the rapture. Who Hey, I didn't realize. Makes all sense in the world now. God's an alien, all right. And here, all the angels are aliens. Well, said it in the book. Said it in Ezekiel. If chariots in the sky, duh, of course, makes sense now. It's all about aliens. All comes together nicely. We get on the spaceship and go to heaven. Okay, and day one. So what happens now? Well, you're in Christian heaven. It's like, all right, so what? We sit at the table here on the right hand of God? Yeah. It's all that really happens here. Yeah. Can we have meat here? I mean, I'm kind of missing meat. Is this heaven and paradise? Are we allowed to eat meat? Well, nobody's ever asked that before, but sure, we can put that. What kind of meat would you like? No, lamb? Lamb? Fuck it. Off to hell with you. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean lamb. Cow. I mean, maybe that's why they're doing all the cattle mutilations. They're basically getting a big feast up in the sky for you, where they know we like beef, and you've been vegetarian for so fucking long because of all these Gretas and stuff, and you're like, you must be really sick of it. So in heaven, they've got a big steak emporium. It's basically Douglas Adams at the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, and at the restaurant in the end of the universe, you have prime rib. You're allowed to eat as much as you like now at the right hand of God. But if you follow through these scenarios, you go like, this is really going to get fucking boring after the first day. And so, put you in Westworld or in a simulation of your best thing, you're going to choke on that. So where would they take you on this fucking spaceship that is better than what we've got? There's nowhere, you fucking idiot. We evolved for this. So even if it is a fucking Petri dish experiment, we are the creatures of the Petri dish. We can't, why would we feel comfortable anywhere other than a Petri dish? Think it through. But all these little fucking self-obsessed little assholes think that it's all so precious and human life is incalculably valuable, and Russell Brand jerks himself off on the fucking YouTube and stuff. It's like, no, we're not. We have cities and stuff and all that and stuff, and we're special in a way because we're the only life in the universe and stuff, but not in that way, not in that special little goody two-shoes way.
So can I say something?
Right? We're a bug with superpowers. We that's it.
Alan Watts went through this really beautifully in one of the talks that he gave, and he did it as a thought experiment where he said to people, hey, if you could have anything you wanted, and go through the whole fucking thing, he said, look, you'd go through all of the fucking pleasures and then you'd get bored, and then you'd push it even harder, and you'd decide that, okay, I can't just have what I want. I've got to introduce the element of surprise here, because it gets, even the extreme pleasures get boring after a while. So I've got to relinquish a little bit of control and let something pop up by random to create a bit of unexpected fun here and there, and go through it all. And eventually that would wind itself down into a chamber of absolute horrors where you had no control, and every kind of evil and agony would unleash itself. And he kept going and going. And he said, eventually, he said, after you'd spent millennia going through everything that every possible conceivable thing that you could want or imagine or experience or anything, and I think he finished off with something like, do you know where you would end up? And basically just said, well, yeah, you'd be sitting there in the audience listening to me tell you this story. It's in that sense, it's not special. It's just going back to what you were saying. That it is special, but you're not going to get some. Oh hell! You can't run it that way. It's got to unfold for you. You might be unfolding it, but it's still got to unfold for you. This is really interesting territory. I don't know what else to say. I'll keep quiet.
Well, I mean, but run through the logic of it. If you take what I'm telling you, that we're manifesting all these fucking, even to the extent that we can rap on them like concrete material in a lab with our knuckles, so do I think we could manifest a spaceship that came down and took us all off? Yeah, certainly do. Certainly think that collectively we could lead ourselves down the path of encouraging our own cities and auto-suggest ourselves into that. We're well on that path. But
so this is another level of mass formation psychosis.
Yeah, this is part of mass formation. So then whose psychosis is it? So like, for all I know, I'm willing all these people into a fucking spaceship so they'll fuck off and leave me alone on Earth.
Yeah.
That's also a very possibility. But anyway, for the you and the extinctionati, is what I'm saying to you is like, if this happens, it's like, let these fucks go. It's like, don't get on that fucking thing. We'll have the fucking paradise to ourselves. And so,
will you put up that video? Some time ago, you put up a little video clip from one of those old black and white science fiction movies about the guy who was getting onto an alien craft or something. Where the woman comes and drags him back and says, "No."
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, what was that film? I don't remember.
It was a Twilight Zone episode. It's a
Twilight
Zone episode called
Twilight Zone.
Man. So it's called How to Serve Man, and the story is these aliens come down and they bring this book, the Bible. Okay, in case you didn't get the reference. But the book has on the cover, it's like how to serve man. And these guys come down and they make the world wonderful and solve all these problems and that, and then take everybody off in the spaceship. If you don't know the thing, spoiler alert, the woman suddenly realizes as the male character goes off into the craft, just like Close Encounters of the Third Kind is, suddenly realizes that she's translated it, and she's realized How to Serve Man is a cooking book.
Yeah, that's it. That's the one. Yeah.
So I'm saying in effect that is like if you get on that craft, it's like the aliens are taking up this. At the very best, they're taking up a failed experiment. In other words, they're going to chuck the petri dish in the toilet. I mean, if they're really kind to the experimental animals, then they'll put you out to pasture. If you're lucky in some VR thing or some manufactured hell on somewhere up in the Pleiades. I mean, we're not evolved for the Pleiades. It's going to suck, man. So it's like, so that's the best you could hope for. But I mean, the danger for the Extinctionati, if you follow me and my logic, is that you would stay down on Earth, and then you just hope that they don't fucking say, "Oh, well, that's the end of the experiment and nuke Earth." But why would they? I mean, if the experiment's over and they take all the, maybe they were trying to, maybe what they do is seed planets, grow alien cortexes, and reap the harvest. Highly unlikely, because look what this fucking thing has done. But anyway, okay, if that's the thing, it's like, great, so you go off into the alien cores. What do you become pets of theirs or something? I mean, they're vastly more intelligent. It's basically Elon Musk's thing where these guys are, what are you going to be? You're going to be their slave or what? I mean, it's not going to be cool. They're going to dominate you.
Yeah, what you're saying also kind of reminds me of that Keanu Reeves movie. It was The Day the World Stood Still, that remake. He came there to start up a process of these nanomachines to wipe out humanity because humans are destroying the planet. He wanted to save Earth because he's like, Earth is like one of 5 planets in the entire cosmos with life. So he starts the process, and then later on in the movie, the lady that's with him convinces him, okay, I see this other side of humanity. Some of you want to make it right and stop destroying. But if I do this, it's going to come at a cost. And what's he do when he shuts down his nanomachines? He completely collapses civilization. The entire power grid goes down. The oil refinery stops, completely shuts the machine down. He's like, there you go.
Yeah. So if they shut down them, so you think there are really some good guys in this? Like there's some frozen chosen like King's North things and stuff? It's like, I mean, I've been trying. I mean, no Christian has taken me down yet, but fuck, have they tried? I mean, I'm talking legally, take a hit on me. So I'm talking some serious shit. None of them has succeeded yet, but I mean, like that's the essence of Christianity. You saw it with King's North in a microcosm because he came back later and said like, well, I know I wasn't very Christian. And he said, well, no, that's exactly Christian. You be an utter little shit. And then basically you come back later and try and forgive yourself and absolve yourself of your sins and patch it all up. Well, fuck you. I'm not a Christian. I don't forgive. I just say like, you're a Christian. Fuck off. You're going to hell. So it's like, and you get to hell because, somebody says, I don't forgive you. So forgive me if you want. Do the Christian thing. I'm putting you in hell. There, bing, you're in hell. I didn't reciprocate. Fuck you.
It's
and then the Christian's got no let out. You can either turn the other cheek and forgive you, in which case you win, or But anyway, they don't win that way. So if you follow the logic, there are no frozen chosen. We're all shits that way. The alien cortex is a shit. It's a planet destroying shit. They're not good ones and bad ones.
And it's funny because with that whole Christian mindset of sin and resentment, all that mindset itself is hell. You don't need to die. You're already in hell with that mindset.
Yeah. Yes. I mean, as soon as you believe that there's a big personification of your alien cortex male patriarch, huge in the sky, You're in hell from there on out. You're in hell if you don't deal with this little patriarch in your head. But so it's like, okay, so I mean, this is fucking obvious to me. I hope I'm convincing you of my argument for, like, stay on Earth, hope all these fucks go off in the spaceship, and let's hope they just leave the petri dish and we can carry on.
So one pursuit which might help is to, instead of taking pot shots at alien craft, is to take pot shots at the Air Force to delete some of the main creators of the illusion.
Or just, I mean, you see, if the guys in the Pentagon saw this video, it might take their city away. So if anybody actually watched this video and said, like, maybe this Hugh character has something here, and then, suddenly the phenomenon was going right down, and he's like, so it goes the other way too, right? So, but anyway,
Yeah,
I say this,
yeah.
I'm saying all of this to you because it's all part of the manifesto and the flipping. So a lot of people have said to me, and they say to me, continually getting these things, people say on both sides, very interesting, because nobody's listening, nobody's reading the manifesto. They're all interpreting everything wrong, and it's like herding egos, right? It's just everybody's scattered. Oh, I haven't got enough time. But it's very funny because I hear both. People have said to me, like, well, I know you've said that the flippening is just a metaphor. Blah de blah de blah. And then the other guy said, like, now I know you've said that it is a physical event and it's not psychological, but how does that fit in? Why do you keep on going off on the woo? And say, like, you haven't listened. If any one of those two resonate with me, listen to them carefully. It's very hard to understand, but listen carefully. The flippening is both. It is a psychological thing. It is a metaphor. It is a prophecy. It's a parable. It's also a geophysical event that Michael Shermer could look at, if only he would, like Elliot Jacobson wouldn't. It's like, just if you look at it, you'd be like, fuck, you cannot fault the science in that. So yeah, you won't be. You won't be able to fault the woo in it either. See, what we do in our alien cortex does is compartmentalize everything. We haven't got this concept that, like, the world doesn't exist in the boxes that you put it in. If you put things in categories and label shit and stuff, that's your fucking funeral. I mean, literally, that's your fucking funeral. But the world doesn't go into a box like that. So we don't have a concept of, they say, like, oh, okay, psychology is over here. And we'll, maybe it's woo. We don't understand consciousness, but we can draw a little line around consciousness and woo, and then we can talk about science. And then we can talk about geophysics and the flipping. These two don't know. It's like, no, it doesn't work like that. We haven't got a concept of, like, the observer is going to fucking flip the Earth. I mean, the more you look at the Earth, I can take this two ways. If I can show you the science, Michael Shermer's side of you, the science, and say, well, this is really, really going to happen here. I can see it, and I can't argue against it, and this is constant. Then what I've done is I've done the woo side. So I can make you flip the Earth because I just unlocked your cities and I used science to do it. And I can also go from the woo side just as well and just say, okay, you believe the Earth is going to flip, you'll flip it too. So you see these people are not used to the idea that you can have a psychological thing. Say, okay, it's a metaphor. Yeah, it is all that. So it's a metaphor. Everything comes together in the flipping.
Yeah, it's
say,
funny.
oh, wait, then you transhumanist. Oh, is this Ray Kurzweil? So Ray Kurzweil was right. This is the singularity. No. Each one of these guys are substitutions for the real event. So Ray Kurzweil says, oh, this is the singularity. This is the rapture of the nerds. This is when all our technology comes. I say, no, that's a substitution to avoid what's really going to happen. And then on the other side, you get like Klaus Schwab and stuff. You're saying, like, we're going to do the Great Reset. And so, yeah, the Great Reset is coming. Oh, this is the communist utopia I've been doing my whole life. Yeah, we get it. They say, no, we don't. That's you and your fucking ego and your Klaus Schwab thing and stuff. So you're getting a Klaus Schwab is a false prophet that's fooling himself. He is imagining this Great Reset as a premonition of the real one. But you see, all of these scenarios, the Ray Kurzweil one, the Klaus Schwab, and they all have one thing in common, that they're in there and they're in top. They come out as king. Klaus Schwab secretly is king of this one world order. All these transhumanists, all the guys who, in the Pentagon, the one world guys, the eco-health guys, even all of these guys, the globalists and that, somewhere is and then we come out in the top. So in the utopia, then it's a classist utopia, and then they somehow king. So even in the Muskrats is, somewhere Musk is a cult leader, and in this great, brave new world and stuff, then he's thinking, then I'm king of the world. And you say, well, kind of, but you're selling yourself short. Because if you listen to everything I've said over and over, what Gary and I told you, it's like you're God. It's like you don't want to sell yourself short as king of the world. What is Kurzweil and all these guys say? Well, we'll be superhuman. We'll be human plus. We'll have augmented humanity and stuff. And you say, no, you're selling yourself short. Augmented God is something less than God. So Yuval Harari and Homo Deus and all these Ayn Rand fuckheads and stuff. It's like all of these guys are selling themselves short as God. Even spiral dynamics and all of that crowd. They say we will become like God or something. You say, no, you're always selling yourself short because like God, we will be like Jesus. Or it's like no, it's like. You were God. You always were God. You just didn't realize it. You continue not to be God while you say you need, Google Glass or you need Neuralink or something to make you God. And you say, no, Neuralink needs Neuralink to make Neuralink. God doesn't need Neuralink to be God. So any of this making sense at all?
Yeah, they're missing the forest for the trees. They're putting on personas and forgetting what's underneath. Yeah.
But I'm not talking flowery philosophy or concepts or etymology or epistemology or something. No, I'm not intellectualizing. I'm saying this is very, very physical. So if you talk about Neuralink, when I see the guys in Neuralink, I always have this in mind. If you see like Elon Musk there and he's got a remote control and he's controlling this poor fucking pig, it's like, I don't believe he's controlling the pig. I mean, I know he isn't. And the reason is, Elon Musk is a con man, right? He's a faker. He's fooling himself and he's fooling all the muskrats as well. So he's like they're both off on this little dream in this little cult, but cult with cities. They're creating rocket ships with the fucking imaginations, and so okay. So when you look at the pig and stuff, that they're not controlling that with the electrodes going in, because we see what Elon Musk will tell you is like, oh, we're so close to transhuman and stuff. We're going to put electrodes in people's heads and they'll be able to make phone calls. They can just dial with their mind. You just think, I want to contact Gary. And then that thought, the electrodes pick it up. They dial it on the internet. It goes up to Starlink and then, across the world down to Gary. Gary gets a little, Hugh, is that you? And and all, it doesn't even have to move his lips. It's just the technology sees the motor reflexes going and then, connect the phone call. Horseshit. Absolute fucking horseshit. These guys are fucking snake oil salesmen. These guys are like, if you saw these guys these guys were wandering around in the desert in ancient Egypt and stuff, and they were wandering around in biblical times, and these guys were they tricksters. They'd throw a snake on the ground and then show, staff on the ground, show you a snake. All these. This is Elon Musk. He's a modern version of these snake oil salesmen. But so how does the pig work? Well, the pig, one way the pig doesn't work with the electrodes in the head is they don't know enough about the human brain and the wetware and stuff to put, electrodes in. So, I mean, this is what they're really doing. It's analogous to this. You imagine all the neurons of, say, Wembley Stadium with 70,000 people in it. And then what these guys are doing is, say, from the stratosphere, they lower down these, essentially tasers on the end of a wire into the crowd of the 70,000 football spectators in Wembley, and then just randomly try, flick the tasers and tase various members in the crowd, and that way control the outcome of the football game. That is a very good analogy of what they're trying. And then Elon Musk and these guys are saying, like, and we're doing it. Let me show you. I can control the outcome of the football. What do you want? Do you want Manchester to win 2-0? Okay, I'll do that, and I'm doing it with these these 100 tasers lowered down from the stratosphere. And it's like, what's happening? It's like, there's no way that he's actually controlling the outcome of the football match with that way, the way he thinks he is. So if you listen to me and all of this talk, then you're saying, well, he's using the cities. All the Neuralink crap and the augmentation and the electrodes and all the gizmos and stuff is just the crutch he needs. It's Shri Rama Krishna's leaf that he needs to then, use his own powers to affect the pig. So I did this in cartoon form. It's hard to, anyway, didn't work. But anyway, I've been chiseling away at you guys trying to pass this information. But how do you tell God that God's God and, say, well, why don't I feel like God? It's because you have infinite powers. And if God has the power to not feel like God, then, well, fucking who can go against that infinite will? Weird. I mean, I just heard myself sounding like the worst hack motivational speaker or something, but sorry. You either hear it or you don't, but test it. Go woo. So anyway, that's as much as I've got for the UFOs and stuff, but I just felt the need to freaking warn people that section that I put in, I can't go back and put in more. I certainly can't put in what I've just told you here into the manifesto. But just understand that little paragraph is trying to say to you is we're going into mass formation. We're going into psychosis on a big scale, a mass scale. But don't get sucked into that psychosis. That's malpsychosis. It will manifest as weird shit, the weirdest shit known to man. That basically, don't be surprised if you wind up in a movie like Mars Attacks, or suddenly these guys are on the White House lawn shaking hands with Biden, and they say, like, when you see that shit, if you're an extinctionati, you'll say, back off from this. This is their dream. You're not seeing the truth. In other words, it's not conscious. They are manifesting these things. They are bringing these things out of the paranormal so that they can actually see them on television and on the White House lawn and stuff. But that it's you must know that it's not real in the sense that there really are little men coming from other planets. It's much more like just to say one more thing here. It's much more like paranormal stuff. So it's much more like Robert Bigelow and all of those crowds and stuff. And so I can explain all of this in much more detail if you want, of why you can't take photographs and stuff. And I've done a lot of stuff in this area, so I can share anything you want to know about it. But as long as, with this caveat, I don't want to draw you into this because it's makya, right? It's drawing you off the path. It will draw you into fascination with it, and it will suck you in. So this is makya, the whole UFO thing and stuff. But it's going to get, I got a feeling, it's going to get fucking real in a sense that people are going to start really losing their minds, like, like we're going to meet close encounter.
Yeah, what you're saying
But we
here
have a
makes
close encounter with our own fucking, our shadow, right? By
yeah,
the
what you
way, about the shadow, Jung said pretty much what I'm saying now, but nobody heard him.
Yeah, what you're saying makes a lot of sense. Like, I always suspected that, physical aliens never visited the planet, and I kind of thought it was sort of a psychic phenomenon, but I didn't know the specifics. But what you said made a lot of sense. It's almost like, a cultish religious phenomenon, sort of. Yeah, it seems.
Okay, yeah. What people don't understand is we have the power to make a thought physical, and you think, oh yeah, you mean we can imagine an electric motor and machine it and build it? No, I mean you cut out the middleman. You don't have to get a lathe, and you don't have to get a welder. You can just go bink, boom, there it is on the table.
Yeah, I've had
You
an
know,
experience like that. Like, I've told you guys this before, but when I was in the military, they were screwed. When I was in boot camp, they screwed up like the ESL docket or whatever, so I got put on ESL for a week straight, so I got no sleep. And one of the mornings we had, PT drill for an hour, and I literally floated on my body and saw a gigantic like sea of ghost wolves running with me. It was fucking insane. Like, but I felt like it happened. Like, I know it's like psychic and all this, but that was just, like, incredible, like, what the fuck?
yeah, no. See, Michael Shermer there would immediately say and say, yeah, sure, but you're sleep deprived and it's a hallucination. Yeah, but if the effects of, you see, where all of that kind of normalizing safety quarantining of woo falls down is that the effects. So you would see effects of the wolves. If somebody actually got mauled by the wolf or something, and you say, okay, so Michael Shermer, if this is all a mental effect and it's an hallucination, how did these guy get fucking two teeth in him? So it always falls down in that safe quarantining way, always fucks up. But I must tell you one more story, and then let's close it off on this story. But it's kind of like the Sri Ramakrishna story. Maybe it is the Sri Ramakrishna story, but no, it's not a Sri Ramakrishna, but it's a Zen story. It's a common Zen story, and it's about this whole area. And I'll leave you with this to think about, because this is kind of what I'm warning you is happening on a very big scale in the Pentagon. It's happening on like the highest echelons. It's happening between China and Russia, and it's big. It's big. Okay, but here, if you come to your own conclusions, and I say there's risk in believing me on this one in a way that there isn't with the flipping. But I'll leave you with this story to try and convince you, at least so you know where I'm coming from and make your own decision. But there's the Zen story, um, and I'll paraphrase it again. So how it goes is, um, this guy, it's about manifesting shit, right? So it's very like that song, in a big house, and it's how does that go? It's Talking Heads, and it says like he's thinking about, where did this come from? He finds himself in a big house with a family, and where did this come from? And he's riffing off the Zen story. So the Zen story is about this householder in India, I guess, and um, he's thinking, he's a young guy, and he's thinking, I would really love a house and a family and stuff like that. And then a few years later, he's got it. He's got a house and family and stuff. And he thinks, that's really cool. I wish I had, but now I really wish I had like gold plates and status and stuff. And eventually, he's got that too. And then, he's eating off his gold plates, and people are fanning him, tikawallas and stuff are fanning him and stuff, and he's thinking, you know, it's really strange. Whatever I think of, it fucking comes to pass. And so he starts to think, you know, well, maybe I should be like Raja or something. I mean, maybe I have a palace, and if that's true, I could think myself in a palace. And then, you know, sure enough, he does that, and he's very soon in a palace. And then when he's walking around in the garden one day thinking, you know, I do have these powers. I can actually create a palace. I could do whatever I think comes true. And he said, this is fucking marvelous. And then he thinks, but hang on a minute. There's another side to this. What if I suddenly thought about a fucking bad thing, like a tiger jumping out of the wood and just fucking eating me? Instantly, tiger jumps out of the bush and eats him. And that, children, I think we should end on that. Think deeply on that. And then
is it? Do you see that as the same as the Watts story, or?
Yeah, but it's also the same of creating aliens. You could think yourself into a interplanetary war and wipe yourself out, just by thinking like a tiger.
Just regarding your warning there about all this, because I like to look from the point of view of what undercuts all the talk and gets right to the bottom of something. And would the best piece of equipment that a person could have be to kind of develop their sense of discernment and discrimination, so that when all this is going on, that they have that they have this kind of fortitude, if you like, to just stand back and just don't take any action. Just stand right back from it and just keep looking at it, you know, and ask themselves about this, what's going on. You know, are they really going to get sucked into this? Is it real? Can you see what I mean? To be able to maintain an arm's length.
This is what I'm doing to you now. You see, this is what I'm doing to you in this like 3 hours or on this video. Anybody that sees this video is starting to be inoculated against the insanity. You see,
you might want to do that a bit. I'm just saying,
you might. They might say, like, okay, Hugh is fucking barking mad. You should stop listening to him. He's telling people all sorts of shit. But listen to what I'm saying and think about it and saying, like, am I not telling you the logical thing about that? You know, if you sat down and thought about it, wouldn't you really come to the conclusion that no matter how fucking mad Hugh is, it's like you would actually want it to be that way. You see, ultimately, what I'm telling you the tools for survival. You see, you part of the thing about the tiger jumping out of the jungle, when just because you think about it, is you could say it is also, you could read it this way, that it's okay that the tiger jumps out. You see, in the kind of English Patient way. So the English Patient movie, if you never saw that movie, it's like this, the main protagonist, and that gets badly burnt, goes through this huge struggle with the nurse is kind of in parallel. She's kind of like Kali running through the mother goddess, right? So think of the mother goddess. She like gives you birth. She's your lover. She, you know, protector, your companion. And then at the end of the movie, it's all too much of a struggle. He's too burnt. His life is wrecked. And what he does is he shoves all this morphine. So she gives him morphine. The nurse gives him morphine and does a pain, and basically the consort role of Kali. When she's not going to kill him, put him out of his misery, like say the One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. There they have the Indian guy's mother, Jack Nicholson character. Kali doesn't really do that. You have to give Kali the nod. So as in the English Patient movie, he can't even speak, I don't think, but he tells the nurse that he's ready to go, and he shoves all these ampules of morphine in her direction. In other words, say, give me an overdose, I'm ready to go, which she does, and then she leaves, and that's how the movie ends. Now, if you take the tiger jumping out of the jungle, you can take the what I'd call the Kool-Aid approach, the King's North, the religious approach. You're saying that it's all okay. When you're ready, look, you've had a lovely life. You've had this life all the way building up to a castle and stuff. And when you're ready, then you also have the comfort of knowing that it'll be quick and you'll be taken out. See, I'm telling you not to go there. You see, what I'm telling you is life. And so the Extinctionati is about survival and avoiding the tiger coming out. So this, on a personal level, I want you to survive, and on a species level, I want people to survive. So I'm, the angel of continuity or whatever. I'm telling you things that'll help you live. Everybody will tell you mostly ways to die. So they mostly everybody's a Kool-Aid salesman, and I'm trying to tell you that the story of the ages is the Christ story, and then we all do Kool-Aid in the jungle. And I'm saying, like, occasionally, and in this case maybe on a large scale, we could break out of that. We could break out of that cycle so that we don't all take the Kool-Aid and do the normal play. So it's a break in the script if we we don't do the fucking follow Elon Musk or King's North to the Kool-Aid. But these are the techniques you're going to need to do to get there, and negotiate this psychology. So we you see, what we get after the flipping, if you survive it, heaven knows it's looking dodgy now, but then you get a new chapter, you get a new Earth. It's the other side of Noah. But go ahead, Dibby.
Yeah, I was going to say that what you're saying reminds me of that Ragnarok prophecy with Odin. The oracle comes up and tells him, you're going to die by Fenrir, the wolf is going to eat you. If Odin had not got obsessed with that thought and fucked with that wolf, Ragnarok would have never happened. He could have said, yeah, maybe, but I'm going to go home to my wife and kids. And you know what? Nothing would have happened.
Yeah, well, it's the same as Macbeth. You see, this is the hidden meaning in Macbeth. Macbeth also does all of this, becomes his own worst enemy, and becomes his own nemesis. So this is, all of these things are very, very old. All I'm telling you is the story of Nemesis. So the ancient Greeks have warned us and stuff, but you see, the only reason why we're still alive today is because a very few people understood these like ancient Greek stories and the myths. So as long as a few people know and understand them and can relate them to others, like I'm doing now, the danger is these fools, the Michael Shermans, these dead people. They're zombies. King's North. They're walking dead. See, some people said, "Well, I understand what you meant about King's North, but you don't. I thought you were a bit harsh with him." So, no, you don't understand. This is a demon from hell, right? This guy's possessed by a demon. You can't see it. You just think he's a nice guy. That makes the demon. It's like if you knew what I knew, a character like that, basically, if you thought I treated them harshly, well, those guys need fucking torching with a flamethrower. That would be appropriate. Then I was really, I was really kind. But you see, I mean, the reason is these guys are Kool-Aid merchants, right? And they don't know it. They don't know the demon that they've got inside them. But go ahead.
Yeah, it's one of the reasons I linked that Derek Jensen video with the machine, where he talked about how the Catholics were all kill them all and let God sort them out. It's that same demon. If everyone ain't converting to the burden of Christianity or whatever he was saying in that crazy letter about that shit.
Yeah, actually, that's happened many times in the Catholic. So it wasn't only just with the Holocaust. The They did that during the Crusades too. Well, the justification of the Crusaders. These guys are Crusaders, right? So the justification of the Crusaders was like the moral thing is like, are we? It says in the Bible, do not kill and stuff. Is like, as soldiers of Christ, are we really doing the right thing, chopping all these Arabs' heads off? And the thing was, basically, yeah, you can kill them because we're doing God's will, and God will sort out the wheat from the chaff in Ammon. But you see, okay, well, it's kind of psychopathic, but it's logic. But run through the logic, everybody dies. You see, right? You see, they're just killing some, and then the Crusaders live on. Is implied, hidden assumption, unexamined assumption in that. But imagine that the Crusaders are suicide bombers, or like the Mormons, who have infiltrated the nuclear establishment and want everybody gone. They want this place to be a glass ball, so that basically, the angels can finish it off with Windex and polish it up, and God will sort it all out. You see, now there's, contrary to what I'm saying, is like that's not survival. So but yeah, you can see the danger we're in.
Yeah. Yeah, it's yeah, I can't even describe the evil. There's no words for it. It's just evil.
Yeah. So yeah, if you're still not getting what I'm saying, it still sounds harsh what I'm saying about people like Kingsland and stuff. It's like think of them like suicide bombers. They're suicide bombers that want to take all of humanity out. I mean, you can say, "Oh, that's melodramatic," and I say, "No, that's the psychology," and you take that psychology to its logical conclusion. It's misanthropic. It's you put all the things together. You just have to amplify them a bit, and you'll see it. You go, "Oh, fuck! Now I see what you mean." So like, yeah.
Yeah,
Anyway,
they're attached to that ideological or idealized image that they have of humanity, and it's like, you got to get down in the dirt. We're animals just like all the other animals on this planet. We just have the ability to self-reflect at an astonishingly, insanely sophisticated degree, but we're still animals. So if you can't get comfortable with that dirty animal side, then there's probably not much hope for that person.
yeah. You would see that's the realization is realizing again. Unite. You see, it's not about happy families and we all the line lays down with the lamb. It's that you recognize our divinity and our ineffable Godhead inside, and also we're just fucking chimps. It's just like, can you unite those two in your head? It doesn't mean that it's all compatible after that, or no, we put aside our divinity for the sake of our primate side and just accept we're primates. And so they say, no, you don't look for reconciliation. We'll always be divine primates. See, you don't want the lion to lay down with the lamb. That's what all these Kool-Aid merchants want.
Yeah, that slight tension's healthy. It's how, species evolve. That it's not completely this pink cloud harmony. It is sometimes, but not all the time.
Yeah, it's life is the pain and uncertainty, the rich pageant. That so, all of these things, which we will all be one world. We will all be united. We can all get together. The line will lie down, and they narratives of death. They mean that history will end. We'll all be good communists. They're all narratives of then the show ends. Fundamentally, they don't like the show. They want to stop the clock. So, like, well, you can stop the clock by killing yourself, but there's a better way to stop the clock, and that's by kairos. Is by if you're absolutely in the moment, you can stop the clock and live. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, living without, preordained goals, just, it's that It's like that William Blake quote that I love. He who catches the sun as it flies lives in eternity's sunrise, or something. He who catches the joy as it flies lives in eternity's sunrise.
Yeah, you see, Blake knew this, but it's very hard to communicate, and then everybody's distracted, have no time. And I guess with that, we should give everybody back their chronos and round it off there.
Thanks, yeah. Thanks. Yeah.
All right. Well, it would be a shame if we didn't give this one up and just go through the ritual. So the meditation at the end here, this exercise, it is a spell, and it's a spell of detachment. So you don't want to hang on anything I've said and stuff. It's like you know I don't want to put you in a time machine so you get stuck on this, because as soon as this ends, this is going to be in the past. So what this exercise is to cut the cord and leave it in the past, and not cling and hold back. You see, you got to move on. The hands of time are moving on, so don't cling to the past. King's North, and don't get too far ahead in the future. See, I will end this one more thing before we do this, but there have been times in the past where I've been so clued into that that I've actually felt the heat coming from behind. So I've often got a very strong impression, that like often people say, well, your past catching up with you, and they say like, you're feeling the heat. So I've often got literally almost that the past is the heat, and the future is cold, and so you can keep in this Goldilocks zone, and almost so that if you get too ahead of yourself, you start to feel the chill, you get cold feet, and if you start to move too far back, then the accountants and the lawyers and the cops and all these horrible little zombie army coming after each of them, then you start to feel the heat of that. And then you can just stay in this Goldilocks zone, which is on the razor's edge. And that's so to put us back on the razor's edge, and not to feel the heat or get ahead of ourselves and get too cold. Let's equalize the temperature and just do it by falling still. And consciously renouncing everything you heard here, detaching from it. And to detach from it, just connect to the silence. Om Paramatmane Namah Iti. Okay, everybody. Well, that was cool. So, Gary, can you end the recording? And Gary, what is that?
Yeah, I'm onto it. Just give me half a second. Yep.
Okay.
Just because I haven't. Oh yeah, here we go. Stop recording.
Oh, I think it took him off when he stopped. Oh, did he come back? Oh, there he is.
Yeah. We might lose 3.5 hours. So anyway.
Well, I don't know. I don't know. I just have to see if it's there, because I'm just using my phone, and I've never done it before. But it was showing the recording.
Hit on the ellipsis there, and you can see stop recording.
Yeah, I've done. Yeah, but I think it logs me out. Hang on.